Oh man, another drop sold out. Oh, I'm never gonna get anything. This is a scam. Kiwi NFT company announces deal with Marvel. Ah, okay. Does this mean I can get all of the Infinity Stones? Maybe if I can go into the future, I can get some Infinity Stone NFTs before anyone else. But how do I get to the future? Ant-Man is such a noob. He did not need pin particles. All he needed was Clockgate. Okay, let's go to the future. We are going to the year. When? Let's go to May. Yes, let's do that. Let's do it. Done.
Dread it, run from it. Destiny arrives all the same. I am inevitable.
Mr. Yu, I don't feel so good.
All right, so how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got the exclusive AMA with Rhys, the communications manager of Ecomi. What we're going to be doing is we're just going to be going through some really cool stuff, some stuff that the community has sent in, some questions, some new upcoming stuff as well, which is kind of like, the stuff that you guys probably care more about. And we also will be I guess, learning a little bit more about Rhys as well, which some people are actually genuinely interested in. I'm genuinely interested how someone who came from the catering business kind of wound up in the world of crypto and NFTs. So before we start, I just wanted to say thank you everyone who has supported the channel. All of your names are in the description below. And also, if you like the background, that comes from our resident t-shirt maker. So do check out his shop. I'll leave the link below. And it's also the same shop that has the Dead Inside merch that you've probably seen some of the other Ecomi team members sporting. So I think that's gonna be pretty cool. So how are you doing today, Rhys?
Fantastic. Software developer K, how are you?
All good. Yeah, pretty good. Now that we've got this all going, and now that we've also kind of finally seen a little bit of when marketing as well.
Yeah, just a touch.
Oh, okay. So we're just seeing kind of like the tip of the marketing iceberg.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The speculators are already on that, like as they watch this. So we'll start off with a quick intro. So Rhys, how did you kind of get involved with VeVe? What kind of what pulled you into this environment? How did you join their company? Because you came from, I believe, like you had your own catering business.
Yeah, that's correct. I've been with Ecomi and VeVe, I guess, for 4 years now, almost. But I actually know Dan from my early 20s. I used to write for one of his media companies. And sort of to cut a long story short, he became friends with one of my friends who was one of the co-founders as well. So when it came time for the secure wallet to be manufactured and roll out, they kind of just hit me up and said, "Oh, do you want to write for us?" And at that stage, this must be maybe mid to late 2017.
Yeah.
I'd heard of Bitcoin, and I'd had a few people try to sell me on it or tell me about it, but never really had a reason to look into it. So it wasn't really until I started writing for Ecomi that I really dived in.
Yeah.
And like most people, once you dive in, like you don't go back from that. You don't unlearn the things that you learn there. So that was kind of my intro to crypto. And for us, NFTs around the same time. And at that stage, because I was still pretty green to the space and learning about digital collectibles, I kind of came in thinking that everybody already knew about this stuff, and that it was very commonplace. And it became very apparent over the following years that nobody had any idea what we were talking about, but, until we could actually show them a product and where we saw the vision and the capabilities. But that was my intro to crypto. And then I just went balls deep, I joined the communities and found a lot of one really great paid community that I'm still in that has provided me with almost all of the knowledge that I have, at least from the earlier days. And then you really get a different view of the industry when you work in it too, right? Because you come to understand, like, especially running that Telegram group for that couple of years, going through, you know, we had a raise that didn't really work. Then we had another raise. We restructured the business. We wrote 2 white papers. Like, all of these things kind of fed into our story, but also my knowledge of the space, and getting that insight or that behind the scenes look at it, I suppose, has made it, I'm not going to say easier to manage the community or anything, but it's definitely given me a lot more perspective on it. So that was my intro. As you said, I was still running my catering business up until 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I've been doing the double duty all year. In the early days of Ecomi, I was also a full-time property manager while catering, while writing. So, you know, I'm definitely used to working a lot, basically. But it's prepared me for this, which is great. And now I'm full-time Ecomi VeVe, and it's the most exciting thing I've ever been a part of. So it's cool to be here.
So running a property business somehow prepared you for responding to when Pokemon every other day.
Oh, every day. Yeah. When wall fixed? When? When? You know.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. It's more all of those roles and businesses and things have just helped me to communicate with people. You know, and you're always communicating with different stakeholders, people that expect things from you and need things from you. And I didn't know at the time that this is what we were leading up to, but it's certainly helped with this position. So
that's amazing. Cool. So we'll kick off with some of the community questions first. So firstly, the web platform for VeVe is coming out soon. When is this? I'm starting with a when question straight away. Okay, let me change it. What date is this targeted for?
Look, it's development. You know yourself that it's really hard to set a specific date. But we do have 2 developers that are solely on the website now, and have been for a month or 2 now. It's coming along really well. So the first iteration is basically what you see in the app, but enabled on a web browser.
Oh, fantastic.
It'll open us up to a much broader audience. You know, if people don't have the most modern phone and those things, a lot of people prefer to use PC anyway. Look, best case scenario, we see it by the end of July. So pretty close, I would think. Maybe a little bit longer to actually get it there, but you've probably got more perspective on what it takes to go from mobile app to web platform. Any idea on? See, in my mind, I'm like, oh, you just pick it up from one and you put it on the other one, and it's fine. But obviously, that's not the way it works.
So interestingly enough, I work for the company where we, so Amazon, they have a credit card app because they provide you with Amazon credit cards and you get like Amazon points and stuff. So we actually do have like a web version of the app, but obviously the main app is the actual mobile app. So we actually have like 2 separate, kind of completely separate code bases for the mobile version and the kind of web version. And kind of developing against the 2. They do share a lot of similarities, but the mobile version, when it was developed by contractors who they hired, and they just made an absolute mess of it. So we're just kind of like hacking things together. So we're able to release things to the web version a lot faster than the mobile version. You have to be very careful in the kind of credit space, because if you see differences in the mobile version, like your balance is incorrect compared to the web version, the users can actually sue you for that because you're giving them incorrect financial information. So you have to be careful with all of this compliance stuff. And that's partly what made me very, very bullish on VeVe and Ecomi, is because I can see just how, from the things that Dan has said, for example, how careful VeVe's being in terms of compliance, which when you're new to the crypto space, people just don't really see that kind of thing, because they see all these like, meme coins that work in the most non-compliant way possible. You know that they're going to get sued. But the point is they're trying to raise money and just get out as fast as possible. So there's no reason for them to work compliantly. Because a lot of the time, you know, they're very like small projects, so they kind of go under the radar. But some of them do get picked up years and years later by the SEC. I've seen like loads, but it, you know, it just doesn't really get covered unless you're genuinely actually researching and looking for this thing. But yeah, I imagine it may, if it's for July, I'll probably, you know, add a couple of months just to accommodate.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we just lost your video there, my friend.
Oh yeah, you can still hear me. Hold on. What's my video?
Still here, yeah.
Yeah. What happened to my video? Let me see.
Costume change.
Costume change. Exactly.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, just on that while you're sorting the video, especially when you're working with companies like Marvel. You know, these companies are obviously doing an insane amount of due diligence. They want to see everything that you do, everything that goes out there across our communities, all of these things. Like you have to be compliant, right? Otherwise you don't get the deals in the first place and you don't keep them and all of that, you know. And as you've said, and you've said this in a few videos, but it's just another thing that really sets us apart, right? And that fundamentally comes down to the business experience of our team. You know, we're not just, a lot of people in crypto, like they have beautiful ideas and anyone can create a token now. And they do that, they get moving, they raise money, then they try to come back and figure out the compliance or the legal side, you know, and sometimes it's too far gone, right? A lot of people have overcommitted. You know, I think that's really feeding the DAO movement as well, right? Decentralized autonomous organizations. Like if you can decentralize the management structure of a company, then at least there's nobody you can really pin down the line if the SEC wants to come down on it and that kind of thing. But we're obviously still experimenting in that space too, right? Because fundamentally you're creating a system of government for a project. And we've seen how well governments work 9 times out of 10. So like, you know, it's a cool way to experiment. But for us, like, the legal compliance side, we operate in the real world, right? And Dan says this all the time. That comes with real world restrictions, basically.
Pretty much.
You have to abide by them or you don't have a company, you know. And that's been an interesting part of our journey, figuring out how to comply in all the worlds. You know, obviously Ecomi incorporated in Singapore, which has some of the most stringent financial laws in the world, you know. Like it's very business friendly, but you have to check all the boxes all the time, you know. And to try and do that with ordinary revenue, with a token, selling a product completely digitally, plus a secure wallet, like I mean, we have a whole legal team that manages it for us, right?
Exactly. I've said that multiple times. You can't see me now, right?
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Now, reappeared. I got unsnapped.
That's it.
So basically, that's kind of like a key point that I just constantly raise is I just say, you know, whenever there's a kind of delay with VeVe Ecomi related stuff, a lot of the time I just assume it's something compliance related, and a lot of time it does seem to be something compliance related. You know, whether it's to do with, you know, exchanges having to do all of their paperwork, the buybacks. You know, I know there's a lot of legal stuff that needs to be done to buy back, you know, stuff from you know, your own equity from exchanges, for example. But a lot of people, they just kind of see, why can't they just do it? It's like, well, because they can get sued and then your investment is going to go into the gutter. So you don't want them to do that.
Yeah, that's it. You'd rather us do it the way we're doing it. And, you know, look, I think the majority of people understand that, right? And they understand that David, you, Al Khan, Dan, like people like this didn't make it to where they are in the business world by taking shortcuts, you know, and trying to skip out on the things you have to do. And they're not going to start doing it now, right? Especially with what's on the line and really having the capability to create this industry. You're not just going to throw something in the wind and hope it sticks. Like it's not the way to run a business. But But I understand that most people haven't run a business before too, so they don't understand that aspect of it.
I've definitely read your viral post about someone not running a multinational business.
Yeah, that's
People were like, damn, Rhys went into him, like he's not having it anymore. He's done answering the when questions.
Yeah, they got me that day, I'll tell you. Yeah, but like sometimes it just has to be said. Some people truly need to be told, like, this is why, or this is how it is. Obviously, I always try to keep it as amicable as possible, but there's only so far you can push someone who is, or push a team that are literally working around the clock to deliver this product before they.
We've seen it. Like those have been following because. I mean, if you work in like any kind of big industry and you just see the pace that VeVe's Ecomi's releasing stuff at, I mean, I've said this multiple times. I've said if I was a dev for Ecomi, you guys would still be on the first drop of beta right now. You'd still be waiting for like the Donny or whatever, like
yeah, that's it. And I mean, even that, right? Like we thought when we started building VeVe, we were like, oh yeah, 6 months. We'll have something to show for it, we'll have a product. And then it took 2.5 years really to get to the point of launching. Now, of course, that was because we were finding better ways to do things and new technologies. Like normally when you're building a company or a business, like, there's something to use as a point of reference, there is something to base it on, but no one's ever done this before. No one, we're the only mobile app that are doing this, bringing together all the licenses, augmented reality, all the feeds. VeVe really is like 4 or 5 apps in one, plus all the pressure that it puts on, for drops and the market and all of those things. So, we haven't just pioneered the product. Like I think the devs have really pioneered the tech stack and the way that interacts. And then you put it on top of a blockchain to, which is also nascent technology. So I'm not surprised that when I look at it now, I'm like, of course it took us longer than we thought it was going to take, you know, like that should have been more obvious, but just, hats off to the team and the devs for nailing that. And now, I mean, those drops are just compared to 3 months ago, 4 months ago in a drop now, and insane, man, insane. And I think the Binance release they did yesterday, they're having the same issues that we had 3 or 4 months ago, where everybody's accounts loaded out. It seems like most companies are still trying to struggle with that, whereas we've iterated and come through it. It's cool to see it.
The fact that you guys managed to improve the app so much in such a short amount of time, because people kind of see it on the face of it, and when you kind of have some idea of what's happening in the back end, like it's such a complicated product, like it really is. You've got like blockchain integration, you've got like an open marketplace, which is like, working concurrently with multiple different APIs. Obviously, we had issues with kind of the gem to OMI conversion. I recall, I kind of assumed it was something related to overloading the API just as you get more and more users. And then you've got like the social aspect. You've integrated, all of the Google AR core stuff. That's a completely separate package, like the whole AR side. It's all packaged into like, the palm of your hand. And then, it is a very, very complex product. So to get it to work, just even getting it to just function somewhat correctly is very difficult. And then you get like small bugs and people just, lose their mind over it. And it's like,
and that's it. And it's deceiving, right? All of that is happening in the background, but from a user point of view, it's really easy to use. You understand it. So it almost feels like, well, it's this simple to play with, so it must be this simple in the background. Whereas it's the complete opposite. It's the reason it's simple to use is because it's been designed that way so that we could onboard users and people understood it without needing to go down the crypto rabbit hole and all those kind of things. So the team killed it. They're doing really well.
Kudos to the team. So what I just wanted to touch on next is just on the point of the web platform. So for iPhone users, in terms of getting OMI to their account, because we know that there's going to be the upcoming OMI to NF utility. If you're an iPhone user and you decide to use the web platform, is there any kind of like 30% penalty that you might have, like if you're trying to access via the App Store, but you decide to just start using the web platform instead?
No, I don't think so. Well, I mean, if it's on the web platform, obviously there's no app store taking a fee. Really, the web platform gives us so much more opportunity. You know, it means that we can start to build in to accept other currencies. You know, maybe at some point in the future, we can even accept Tether directly or USDT or something like that. And we're not at risk of being deplatformed, right? That's kind of the biggest thing at the moment. People always ask that, oh, why does Android let you do it and you can't do it on iOS? It's because we want to stay in the App Store. That's why, you know, you have to play by those rules too. So once the web platform's live, it gives us a lot more opportunity there. And in the future, I think, you know, really, I think the web platform will become more used than the phone. You know? Like I think that's where people will interact. It'll be easier to build your showrooms, all those kind of things. And maybe your phone becomes more of a browser, so you can still show off your collections and things, but you interact with the app more on the web platform. Something like that, you know, especially if we are accepting payments on the web platform, and it's, you know, we saw Fortnite go through that battle, or there's still, you know, 5-year legal battle about it. So, you know, we're going to have to continue to play within the rules of the app stores, but do it in a way that keeps the accessibility there. So yeah, that's the intention there. It'll be really good. It'll be really good with the web platform, and then you know, like we just have more power to build out on the web, on computers and things like that, especially with the VeVeVerse and things like that. It doesn't all have to be compressed for mobile optimization.
That's actually kind of related to what I was going to ask next is, so with the VeVeVerse, is that going to be kind of solely on mobile initially and then move to the web, as in desktop, or is it going to be like released to the desktop first? Just because I'm like wondering, you know, a phone, I imagine, isn't powerful enough to run something as, you know, what's perceived to be massive like VeVeVerse.
I'm not sure, so I don't want to misspeak here. My assumption is that it will be released to the web version first, or accessible, but obviously we understand the convenience of having it in a mobile device. But yeah, I'm with you. My impression is that, you know, it'll be more capable and a bit easier to launch something like that on a web platform than it is on a phone. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Awesome. But you know, year on year, the phones end up with almost as much power as a computer anyway. You know, so like they'll continue to be relevant. But I think the web platform is where it's at once we get there.
Yeah, perfect. Actually, just on the point of the web platform in terms of the payment. So I assume you guys probably are not building out your own payment gateway. You're getting like a solution already for the payment side. So at the moment, people who live in other countries, who don't use US dollars natively, they kind of get ripped off by the Google Store or the App Store's FX rates, the conversions. So I pay like I think like 15% more for gems. For the solution that you guys are going for, is there going to be a little bit more, I guess, fairness in, you know, people who live outside of the US?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. I think that's the intention there. Once we can choose which currencies to accept, or, you know, if it's a payment processor or some sort of MTL, it gives us more opportunity there as well. Because it's just another thing we're aware of, right? We can't really do anything about those at the moment. I didn't realize until recently, you know, in the UK, in the EU, like there are now digital product taxes on top of things, you know, for in-game purchases and that kind of stuff. I think people like to blame us and say that like we're the reason that they're paying more, but you know, it's one of those things that's out of our control. But once we've got a web platform and we can choose to accept payments in other currencies, there's that option. It's also just one of those, like, this product's only been live for 6 months, right? And if we were accepting every currency from around the world from day one, like that, other than being an accounting headache, it's just easier to transact with US dollars. From a company standpoint, it gives you that security. You know exactly what you want. You're not trying to play the markets to then exchange between things. So it was just made as a functional choice from the start as well.
Perfect. Okay, so that's definitely going to help kind of put some people's minds at ease, because they were asking, hey, where is VeVeVerse going to be on mobile or desktop, blah blah blah. But just on the point of the actual web platform itself, so you said that what we see on the app version currently is kind of what we'll have in the first iteration on the web platform. So does that mean people, because I know there are a lot of people out there and they've got like really old janky phones and they just cannot participate in drops at all. Is that something that they can then do on the web platform?
Yeah, and that's the intention there, right? Yeah, it lets us bring in a lot more people.
Yeah,
people who don't have the most modern phones, that kind of thing. Now, I don't know if that means they'll be able to enjoy the augmented reality side of things. I guess you still need to tether something to your computer to be able to.
Because you would need a camera on your computer as well. That's the thing.
Yeah, right. So there might still be a bit of touch and go there, or we'll be able to use it in someone. But fundamentally, if we can get more people into the drops, more people enjoying that experience, it would just help grow the ecosystem.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So the next point kind of goes more towards what we've seen recently in terms of like marketing. So we saw kind of near the start, we had quite a lot of influencer marketing picking up Ecomi. So we had BitBoy, I believe he did a sponsored video. And then we had some other ones like Andre Jick, and then also Logan Paul kind of dropped Ecomi as well, because he was or kind of invested into it quite early on. So will we see more of this later on? Or is this going to be something that's more managed by Roger and Cohen?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see more of it. Probably from here, to be honest. It's not something we're like, in 3 months' time. Now, Logan just happened to pick it up. It wasn't,
because he didn't say it was sponsored. He just mentioned it, so I assumed he just picked it up.
Yeah, I think he actually has a connection to Jeremy Padua, who
Pokemon guy.
Yeah, right. Who massive toy guy, and he, Dan and David, or they've formed a relationship. So I think I've seen him post on Twitter that's how Logan came to being aware of it. Andre, I have no idea where he came from. Even BitBoy, I don't know who sponsored that video, but awesome. Yeah. Thanks to whoever did.
I think Andre might have gotten it through Logan Paul, because they do this podcast thing called, I think it's like Millennial Money or something. And it's like all of them kind of just chat about investments. And I think Omi was like initially mentioned in there. Not 100% sure, but I did hear about initially through that.
Yeah. So it could have come from that. Yeah. So I mean, obviously, influencer marketing is where it's at these days. Or at least to reach new audiences. And it seems that everybody's on TikTok these days, which I don't have, because I don't want the Chinese government having what's on my phone. That's
the thing. Everybody else. With TikTok, people were actually saying if VeVe can somehow integrate into, kind of get their collectibles into TikTok in some way, that's just going to kind of raise awareness, tenfold, because having collectibles in your TikTok videos is so cool. Yeah.
If I can get David Yu's hairline on my videos, we'll be fine. But look, it's definitely part of the rollout strategy. Now, Rogers and Cohen are more on the press and public relations side than they are the influencer marketing customer acquisition side. So that we'll use a separate company for that, and we'll release news whenever that time is right, as to kind of what's happening. But absolutely, that's the best way to disseminate information. Now, we're very blessed to have people like yourself in this community, and YouTube is popping up all the time. And truly though, like up until this moment, people always scream at me when marketing, but it just we haven't needed it, frankly, and for the last few months while we've been re-engineering the app, it would have been a waste of money and probably made everybody's experience worse to overload the user base. And we've always known that the licenses we have are going to bring their own audiences. Right now, we've just seen how far and wide the Marvel news has been pushed on their site, right? And if you consider that, right, Ron English, he advertised on his socials. Simone Legno for Tokidoki advertised on his socials. So every brand and license, there's press releases to go out, there's press spots that could happen. All of that news dissemination, to the point where, especially now with Marvel, people are watching what we're doing, and so any any release that does get mentioned or goes out, I'm expecting to bring more eyeballs to the space and spread further and further, right? Because we're the only guys doing it. You know, we're the only one with these kind of licenses. So Rogers and Cohen absolutely help with those kind of things. Getting us into the press and into the mainstream. News spots and things like that with Dan and David. And then the marketing campaigns will start, I mean, really when we need them, I guess. If we exhaust the audience and the user base, you know, if we slow growth and things like that, that's when I would expect to start seeing a more holistic marketing rollout. But we also have, that's just on the VeVe side, right? And then we will be running campaigns on the crypto side to bring people to the token.
Fantastic. Loads of people have been asking me about that. They keep saying, you know, this is good for VeVe, like, you know, the Marvel stuff, but you know, they're genuinely, like, a lot of people, obviously, because I talk to you guys, I stay really well connected in the community. I'm like kind of, you know, I'm okay with everything that's happening, but there are people who, you know, put in maybe quite a lot of money near all-time high prices, and they're just worried that Ecomi isn't like focusing very much on the token. I mean, we know it's coming, like it has its own time to kind of happen, but you know, that it's good to know that, you know, OMI token's going to kind of get marketing as well. Because I know that Google, for example, they recently relaxed their advertising regulations for cryptocurrencies. So I think if you get registered with FinCEN, you can advertise cryptos to, like, you know, within certain extents. So I think that's going to be huge for the US, because that's literally where, you know, we just start raising awareness.
And look, we've always maintained, you know, like without VeVe, there is no token, right? That's what it was before. So that had to take priority. The way we've dealt with it had to take priority. But going back to what we mentioned earlier with compliance, because we are a fully compliant company and we've figured out the ways to dance that dance with the token and the product and all of that, it does give us that opportunity to begin marketing that. Now, obviously in the crypto world, that comes with exchanges too. You build your awareness in the crypto sphere with those kind of marketing campaigns, whether it's trading competitions or anything like that. The more people see the VeVe name and dive in and figure out the token that's backing it, the more that comes in. Now, obviously the number one priority for that was to release that article that I just released to bring all of our token information back into place, which I guess people have probably figured out. You know, we dropped that, then Marvel came out. You know, it was very had to be structured that way to try and put it into people's awareness. But yeah, we definitely have some influencer marketing going out to bring people up to speed on how the token interacts with the app, and why, the value propositions of holding it, compounded by the fact that, you know, over time, selling products on the app makes the token more scarce, right? So anyone who goes far enough to realize that, I hope, figures out the value proposition of the token anyway. But yeah, and you know, I said it in that article, but moving forward, you know, as the VeVeVerse builds out, as more people on board and they can see that you can buy things in the market with the token, you'll wonder what that is, right? And go down that rabbit hole. We already have hundreds of thousands of people on our email lists now that we can start to walk down that path to educate them on the use of the token and what you can do with it. When accessories roll out in the store, you know, a lot of those will be available to buy with the token. And eventually the MTL, you know, you'll be able to cash in and out of gems. You'll be able to transact and cash in and out of OMI. But the longer term intention there is that if I'm a non-crypto user and I see something listed in the market in OMI, but I really want it, well, I can buy that anyway, and the MTL will facilitate the purchase of the token. So I can pay with fiat. It will actually buy the token from the exchange, give me the collectible, and then burn the token or whatever, you know. So it continues to become more integrated as we move forward, and more in people's awareness. So yeah, we're going to hit it from all angles, basically.
It's fantastic. It was quite funny. I was talking to Taps earlier, Taps Trades, and he basically dubbed us like the VeVe MT, so the voluntary VeVe marketing team, because we've been like talking about VeVe in these like collector communities. So you've probably already seen it already. Like I kind of spoke a little bit in a kind of a Superman Facebook group, and managed to actually recruit a few people into the app, which is pretty cool. I found that people in Facebook groups just seem to be a lot more open to the idea of something new versus Reddit. Reddit just seems like a war zone to me, which is quite funny. It was Kyle. He basically was talking in a Marvel Reddit page, and you get like the people who kind of they try and kind of be edgy by saying, VeVe, Ecomi, they chop down loads of trees because it's NFTs to like, you know, power their transactions, and it's a JPEG. Why would you pay money for a JPEG? And it's like, dude, like 30 seconds of Googling could answer like all your questions.
You know what? You talk about my rant in Telegram. I saw you school somebody on that the other day.
Yeah, that was the Marvel page. It was literally like, I had to tell him like, yo, this information is publicly available. This is how much CO2 is produced by Immutable X with like 8 million transactions. This is how much is produced from like making 1 ton of paper, which is, you know, it's like such easily Googleable, like Googleable, not even a word. You can just find this stuff so easily. And if I was to talk about something so confidently, I would at least want to make sure I've got my facts right before, you know, and I don't even do it just because, you know, like it's an ego boost to prove someone wrong. I just do it because there are genuinely people, like the people I find in these Facebook communities, that it's new to them. They don't know about it. And then they read someone's comment saying, don't buy this, you know, you're chopping down a whole forest to make this and it's a JPEG. And it's like, no, that is literally not what it is. And it's like, you know, I just feel like I should say something for like, you know, these people who are just genuinely curious because they just want to know, like, you know, what is this new thing?
Absolutely. And look, credit to you, man. You went about it the right way and you go about it the right way. You know, it's not like you're wrong. It's you just put the facts in front of people. And from that point, if people still want to argue, well, you know that they're just trying to troll. You know, it's like people could do research or they couldn't. But you know, if people did 30 seconds of Googling, I wouldn't have a job. So it's like,
true, yeah.
You know,
don't Google. Keep Rhys employed.
Yeah, keep the wens coming. I just love them so much. But yeah, it's just the nature of the beast. You know, where the internet is incredible, but it's brought people together from all over the world. But that's a lot of different people from a lot of different cultural backgrounds, different understandings of technology, and their perceptions of it. Like, it all feeds the narrative, but it just means people are at different stages of their understanding. And you know, I guess that's where opportunity lies, right? If you understand this stuff early on, same as people that are in crypto, if you are early to the game and understand it, well, you stand to benefit the most from it. You know, and that's how we all got here, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic everything you guys have done. So just on kind of like the next point. So you obviously kind of knew about what was coming in terms of Marvel. Yeah, you know, I could tell you were like holding this stuff in, seeing like these really like dumb comments of people saying, oh, you know, I mean, I just can't imagine what kind of like went through your mind during that time. So with Marvel announced, do you have like any comments on that? Like kind of, you know, what was going through your mind, that all of that stuff?
For the longest time, it was don't open your mouth or you will ruin this. It was like, you know, it's hard, right? I mean, we truly try to give people as much insight and information as we can, or as we're allowed to. Right now, we say this all the time. We have more than 100 brands and artists on board. We are signing more all the time. Yeah, people are starting to see the caliber of those brands. And yet, if you don't drop something every 2 days, it's like the company's dead or something, you know. So hopefully this one really cements that in people's minds more than anything. That you know, they're really we're not being challenged by anyone at this stage, right? And because these deals take so long to come together and not just nut out the details, then they go through so many legal loopholes, and you have to tick all the boxes and jump through them and like we're the little guy, right? Like to be 6 months into a product and have one of the biggest entertainment companies in the world choose us as their platform, not only validates us and what we're doing, but these companies are doing so much due diligence on us in the lead up to it. So yeah, you're right. When I read comments and especially the last couple of months of people complaining, and I've tried to say over and over again that once the app was ready, we would start to roll on these things. Once Rogers and Cohen got in the swing, they would start to push us into the press.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing that come together. So maybe we get 48 hours of no FUD instead of 10 minutes. We'll see. But
yeah, give it a few days.
Yeah, right. Like people's memories are short. But so look, hopefully it's starting to give people some insight into really what we are building and just how expansive this scope and vision goes. But man, it's so hard to bite my tongue. Like there's so many days where like there's any sort of comment and I just feel like writing, I have to hold myself back from revealing anything. And some days I just laugh, some people are really close to the mark with some of their guesses. And let's be real, like a lot of people had an inkling about Marvel before it came out. It was a lot to try and keep that cat in the bag. And thankfully we kept it on the down low long enough to have the impact that it had, right? Because obviously it's a huge brand. People had already speculated and seen little bits and pieces, but we should be getting global news with news like this. We really should be pushing into the awareness, and that's another reason we have to be really careful not to give things away too early either. Otherwise, no press will pick it up. So
little bits and pieces. There was literally a Captain America just randomly slapped in the middle of Dan Krover's presentation. The thing is, right, if you had removed the Captain America, it would not have done anything to the presentation. It looked like he literally just went, copy paste Captain America into the middle of my diagram. It would not have done anything if you just removed it. I was like,
not at all.
At that point, I was like, you know what? Like Marvel's gonna be coming like next week or something. Like it is literally just copy paste Captain America there. Someone will pick it up.
That's it. I think even at that point, Dan was like, well, you know what? We got this. Like, I'm just going to, I think he was getting sick of the naysayers too, so. And look, not that I love to try and drop breadcrumbs if it can happen, if there's an opportunity for it, because people like yourself and the people that are here in the community pay attention and you can pick up on it, right? And I guess that's just a little way to give back along the journey until we can release things. So, I mean, sometimes. I
appreciate that.
I hope, I know you guys pick up on it. So obviously it's subtle and we have to be careful, but we do what we can. That's the point. And sometimes other publications release things for us. So, you just have to sit on that.
Yeah, you've got a few Twitter people releasing things on your behalf.
Absolutely. And there's definitely
I've been reading Twitter today. Actually, it's been kind of like making the rounds in the Ecomi groups. Someone had been tweeting releases on your behalf for like Disney and all sorts of like random things. It's just like, don't pay attention to this because Rhys has said multiple times it hasn't come from VeVe, it hasn't come from Ecomi. It's not official.
Yeah, and we should really reiterate that, right? Like, there are no leaks. There are no people that we are just feeding information to have their own exclusive releases or anything like that. For the same reasons I just said, right? Like, if we're going to release a huge company or a brand, we want to get the press for it, right? We want to get the eyeballs. We want to be able to onboard those fans. We're not going to give that announcement to some random Twitter account. Like, that's not how this works, So anyone claiming to have exclusive insider information is just, they're trying to pump their own bags, basically. There's no other word for it. So
pump their own bags to buy some KFC.
Exactly right.
Okay. So, just on that point. So, what I did also want to touch on is, I guess you kind of touched on this already, but just for everyone watching, so they kind of know for sure. So at the start, people, the same kind of edgy people who kind of are overly speculative conspiracy theorists, they were saying, oh, but VeVe Ecomi, they're promoting DC. Why doesn't DC say anything about VeVe Ecomi? That's kind of suspicious. And they just kept saying that for everything. Like the licensors aren't saying anything. That's kind of suspicious. But you earlier said for the licensors to say something, it requires a kind of a press release process, which Roger and Cohen is kind of leading now, which is why we saw Marvel on their main website post VeVe. We saw LVMH post about Givenchy about VeVe multiple times. So I don't know, do you want to just confirm like if that's kind of like
yeah, absolutely, yeah, and I think we've touched on it anyway, but there is a process to rolling these things out. Now DC was obviously the first brand we ever dropped. I'm inclined to say there wasn't a big press story about it because it was a brand new product, and I think that most people want to see that product proven. I don't know how Dan and David negotiated for us to be able to release them as one of our first things as a brand new product.
That's a big one.
Huge, right? It's and yeah, it just made me laugh. It still makes me laugh with that kind of speculation, like, oh, why aren't they promoting it? Maybe it's a scam. Like, these guys would sue the pants off us if we were releasing their content.
Exactly. I mean, the fact that Pete, there was actually a group of people. Still to this day, I actually still see this as they're like, oh, but VeVe collectibles aren't really NFTs, blah, blah, blah. For like whatever reason, it's like, dude, they advertise it as NFTs on the website. Legally, they cannot do that. Like, that is like the most basic form of false advertising if they did that. And that is like, you just cannot do that yet. Oh, it just like blows my mind.
People just... When people miss an opportunity, they want to find any reason to try and bring it down, and I think that there's 100%. Probably a lot of that. We're going to continue to see it, it's we've always maintained that as the tide rises, all NFT projects are going to rise, because it's a brand new industry. But already we're starting to see that tribalism and people throwing shade this way or that way and start those smear campaigns, like it sucks. It's really sad to see the industry turn that quickly. Hopefully most people realize that we're stronger together. But I'm sure there's a jealousy thing that feeds into this. There's a lot of human emotions. As we said before, a lot of people just won't understand it too, like, oh, it's a JPEG or it's this thing or that thing.
I found it quite funny how you actually even have competitors throwing shade at VeVe, certain manufacturer of stickers. Even they're throwing shade at VeVe, so that VeVe's doing well.
And like, we know those guys, like Dan and David, the CEO, like, I'm sure they're not the ones making the call, right? Whoever's running their profiles, but like, you just have to wear it, right? It's a funny thing, and I find that stuff funny, to be honest. Same. I try not to start too many Twitter beefs, though. I type responses and then realize I'm on the company profile and think, oh, maybe I turn that down a little. But it's just part of it, And just to go back to DC, like, there's obviously going to be some big DC releases coming out as well. We have access to their whole library of content, so the opportunity to get press for that is still very prevalent, depending on the release and as the products develop. So I think we'll see that too. Now, in the early days, DC did a VeVe collectible giveaway. If you go through their website, there was
I didn't know that.
As part of one of their promotions, you could win a VeVe collectible, things like that. So there are tidbits out there, but it was really early on, and I don't blame a huge international corporation for not putting us all over their press when the product wasn't live, or was in its first iteration. And after we went through those months of re-engineering, it was the right choice anyway. It kind of just feels like we're at a point of actually being ready to launch the app and launch it into the mainstream, which I guess started with Marvel or has really started to ramp up over the last few weeks. And then we come into Comic-Con. So we get that huge exposure to a new audience, and we can present to them Marvel and DC and Cartoon Network and all of these brands that are already with us. So those opportunities certainly haven't gone by the wayside. And with Rogers and Cohen on board, I mean, this is what they do, right? This is this is their role, this is what they're doing for us. So any opportunities there to gain more exposure, even if it is backdating a little bit, they'll present to us. So
that's fantastic. That's some really, really cool stuff. So just kind of I guess sticking on the kind of whole press release and everything that came out. So are you familiar with a company called Mattel?
I've heard of Mattel once or twice.
Yeah. Do you have anything to say? Like maybe anything about the brands that they work with?
Yeah, really great roster of brands. Yeah, I don't know what you're getting at here, but no, I can't say anything about that just yet. For the same reason, like there are press opportunities. I think we'll hear something about it before long. But until those details come out, to be honest with you, I don't have the finer details of any of these agreements. So yeah, it's more a matter of we really want to maximize exposure from each of these brands and licenses. So until something official comes out, I don't know what you're talking about.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, it does have some pretty cool brands that they work with that I saw. The article did name drop one. I think everyone kind of knows which one it is. So Barbie. Very popular brand. I had a look at some of the other ones that they have. Obviously, nothing's confirmed on VeVe side, but I saw that they had a lot of the kind of co-brands. So they had Ghostbusters as well, DC as well. And then some of the kind of like ones that I think would do really well, like Thomas the Meme Engine. Everyone want that for the meme quality. So I mean, I can definitely see some pretty cool stuff. So just on that point, actually, with the whole Marvel release and everything. So was that release the I guess people have dubbed it the 12 out of 10?
Yes. Yeah,
that was the one. That was the 12.
That was the one that I've been waiting for. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to say 12 out of 10 again, but we have lots of brands that are all, of a super high caliber, and obviously depending on what you are personally a fan of, something that someone else might not enjoy, you might think is a 15 out of 10. It just depends on your interests and things like that. In terms of global exposure, obviously Marvel is one of the biggest companies in the world. So it's truly exceptional to be able to roll them out on the platform, and in a years long partnership. It's not like we're just doing one release and that's it. It's like we're the platform for Marvel. And same with VeVe Sha, like as we know, like LVMH. I don't know if you've seen their roster of companies. Even I wasn't.
Louis Vuitton,
like everything. Tag Heuer, the watches, a lot of liquor brands, like some really incredible brands there. So with each release and each big brand that comes on, they're just validating us as a company further and as a product, which helps us move up the rungs of these companies. And what really helped us in the last few years, especially from when we started approaching licensors, is there's been a lot of company acquisitions, so you kind of start with this brand, but then they got bought by this brand. So now you're in their awareness, and then they get bought by these guys. Like it's been really crazy to watch that develop as well. And fundamentally, like I didn't know anything about licensing before we started this. It's not something that I even considered. Obviously, you walk into a shop and you see like Batman Lego and you just think that's cool. I never considered the licensing deal that went on for Lego to add Batman to their characters or their blocks, and I think that a lot of people in our community are starting to learn more about that industry too, just how that interacts. Like you just said, with Mattel, for example, they have a lot of co-brands. We see that with a lot of our licenses too, and Toki Toki's done a lot of collaborations, which is really cool, right? It means you can offer the original product, you can eventually offer those licensed products as well, and every time you just bring in more fans or a larger portion of that audience.
Yeah, definitely. It was pretty cool because I first picked up on the whole co-brand thing when you sent us the demo app on YouTube. And I saw there was the DC Bombshells, which was the cryptozoic version of DC. And I was like, oh, okay, so that is pretty cool. So a brand that VeVe is working with, a co-brand that they have, is an NFT that's been shown in this demo. So what else? Like, then I started looking back at, Tokidoki, who they work with, and then, like, Cavell was working around the clock, like finding
absolutely.
Getting ready.
Yeah. And that's it, right? And like fundamentally on that kind of level, on the licensing or creator level, it's a network of people, right? They all work together, and now we're part of that. So now you automatically kind of have these ins to this business or this creator or those kind of things. So it's and look, we're very blessed to have Al Khan on board. So we started with some pretty incredible connections. David Yu's businesses for the last 25 years, he is already in this space and working with these companies. So yeah, it's been we had a leg up for sure, but now it's we're establishing in that space as well.
Just on the point of competition, so I don't know if you would notice, but we saw the Binance NFT market launched as well. I went on it, had a look around, just because I'm kind of genuinely interested in the space, and I tried watching some YouTubers buy the Tokidoki mystery boxes. And, like early days of VeVe, like within a millisecond, everything was sold out. And then I had a look at Binance's Twitter, and there's people spamming, this is a scam, you couldn't even buy it, blah, blah, blah. Like, like what you would get at the start of VeVe when people just couldn't buy anything before the app got optimized and stuff. And I was just thinking, wow, these guys are like, welcome to the game. So the launch of Binance actually coincided with the launch of the Marvel VeVe partnership. So was that like planned to basically overshadow?
Pure chance. I mean, it worked that way, don't get me wrong, but it
was so funny because people were like, hey, the Tokidoki unicorns actually look cooler, they've got like a Gundam version, blah blah blah. And then like an hour later you just see like VeVe Marvel, and it's like, oh, my Gundam unicorn isn't like all special anymore.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, there was I would love to say it was a stroke of marketing genius, but sometimes happy accidents happen,
It was a funny coincidence.
Yeah. And look, it just goes to show, right? Like Binance, this huge conglomerate with so much money and backing and all of that, and they still have issues rolling out this kind of platform because like it is just such nascent technology. You really are overloading these servers, and like you touched on earlier, like for our devs to have figured that out and managed to make it happen and optimize everything and re-engineer while we were still onboarding users and all of that. Like, don't get me wrong, there was that month there where the market was offline, and God, I'm so glad I don't get that when question anymore. But
when market,
definitely growing pains, right? But now we've come through them, and this is how you build a product, right? You build it to a certain standard, you test it, you iterate it, you bring on more people, and you keep on going in that cycle, right? And to have got here really this quickly, it's exceptional, and I think most other platforms that are trying to do this have either been through or will go through the same kind of growing pains. And then it's just a matter of, will they have enough star power to maintain interest while they're fixing the system, right? And for us, the licenses have been enough to keep people involved and people understand the value of, the season 1 collectibles, for example. Like, yes, you had to put up with some shit to try and get them, but if you've got them, and this journey continues the way that everyone's now expecting, a la Marvel, it's only going to bring more people to the space and make those things more coveted. So yeah, of course you had to put up with some frustrations, but the value proposition of putting up with those frustrations, well, we'll see where they go, but I think we can all assume.
Yeah, that's really cool because we saw some quite kind of I guess MIA people now coming out about VeVe Marvel. One of those, I don't know if you heard the conspiracy theories. You probably have. Is people were saying that either Al Khan like quit Ecomi or he just like vanished somewhere. And then this was a genuine conspiracy theory that when Al Khan, because it started because you guys, obviously I understand he's busy and setting up interviews is quite difficult, you know, to where you're both free. Like doing this AMA, obviously, like you and I know, you know, there was a bit of back and forth trying to get a good date. So Al Khan, I imagine, is very difficult to get a hold of, along with, you know, everyone else. So people just assumed, you know, Al Khan doesn't really work for Ecomi because they lied about, you know, an interview. So I noticed on his LinkedIn, he came out quite recently and congratulated VeVe on the Marvel partnership, which is really, really cool to see. And we also saw someone else, quite prolific person, Jeremy Padua, who we spoke about earlier. So the Pokemon guy. And people didn't actually know he's quite a big investor of OMI as well. So I just wanted to ask, is he someone who kind of became like involved in OMI and the space like quite early on or quite recently? Because I read his tweet and he was saying, I've never sold a single OMI token, which, you know, was quite reassuring to see someone like that in the know-how, not selling any of his OMI.
Yeah. So 2 points on that. You know, yeah, I've seen the conspiracy theories, and they're just another thing that I want to bang my head against the wall from. I think people think, oh yeah, like I think people think Al Khan is just like sitting at a desk in the Ecomi office all day, like hanging out.
he's a collectible in the Ecomi office.
Yeah, you know, like the guy runs his own. Right, like yeah, he runs his own huge licensing company. You know, he went from Crane Khan, and now it's Kidtagious, yeah. Right? And they obviously have all their own properties. They're developing like Kung Fu pork choppers, which they're kind of doing the same thing he did with Pokemon, right? They found the property in China this time,
yeah, and
they're completely, you know, they're rewriting the show for a Western audience, all the new voices, dubbing. You know, like the guy is still working all day, every day on his own projects as well, right? And yeah, his role with us has been to help us get in front of licensors and really give us some validation as a team and a product and those things. But he's not like, yeah, he's not in our office day to day. I mean, we don't have an office at the moment, right? We all work remotely. So yeah, that will come whenever it comes, whenever the team can tell me, you know, and we're all in different time zones. So you know, we put that together. Personally, for me, I haven't been doing these video AMAs and interviews that long, you know, so even to do it a month ago, I would have felt less comfortable than I do today. So yeah, personally, I think I'm in a much more confident position to be interviewing someone of Al's caliber about these things, right? So yeah, that makes me laugh every time I see that. What was the other point you brought up after that? I went on a bit of a tangent.
Oh, so Jeremy Padua. So did he join like quite early on or quite late? Because people kind of see him as, you know, the Pokemon guy and the guy who has not sold any of his OMI tokens.
Yeah. So Jeremy, I actually don't know when he came into the picture. I think it was as the product was kind of being ready to roll out. That was when I first heard of him anyway. But he's now friends with Dan and David. And because of his experience in the toy industry, and I think what Jeremy really excels at, and I hope I'm not speaking for him here, is collectible systems, right? Not just a product or a toy, but building in the layers to keep people engaged with the product and you know, wanting to collect those kind of things. So yeah, he helped us to refine the pricing model, things like that. People that were around at the very start, that first Batman release, for example, we had different prices for things that were done by more popular artists, different prices for different rarity levels. Like it was all a bit of a jumble. Yeah. And then, you know, he really came in and helped us to refine that to simplify things, really standardize it. And that comes from his wealth of experience in the industry too. So I'm sure he's contributed in other ways, but that's the one that I'm aware of, that I can kind of pinpoint to. So yeah, it's really awesome to have people like that on board and interested in what we're doing and want to contribute to that. Let alone the fact that he obviously sees where this is going with the OMI token, right? Like,
yeah,
anyone who understands how many collectible drops there's going to be, how many people we're aiming to onboard, you know, like we're aiming for 1 million by the end of this year, potentially 3 to 5 million by the end of next year, you know, like that many people in a collectible system that can transact with each other across the world in seconds, all underpinned by a token. Like all you have to do is hodl.
Yeah.
And you can do nothing else, and you will benefit from that. Not financial advice,
Yeah.
etc.
Always have to throw that in.
Yeah. But like when you have people like that see it and understand the system and are working, and know Dan and David and want to contribute to it, I mean, it should be further validating your confidence in the project and what's going on behind the scenes. So yeah, I'll leave that at that. But it's just good to have people like that on board, and again, then that extends to their network of people, right? He's worked in the industry for however long.
Yeah.
It just keeps going.
Yeah, it's really good to hear, and like, especially him kind of helping with his experience of collecting, bringing that to VeVe as well. So did he, with his experience of collecting, did he help you guys figure out how to collect things in one of these? It was just lady. I was like, you know what?
That was good. I like that. Yeah, who knows, man? We'll see. We'll see. Like David, you said, like, look, and this is in no way confirmation of Pokemon as a brand, but like, they are the biggest property in the world, right? And they're one of the only brands like that has penetrated every market and demographic around the world. Companies like that don't just throw their IP around. They don't just do a product that's in beta or things like that. So, we would love to welcome them onto the platform. We would love to welcome every brand in the world on, if it fits the bill. So
yeah,
we'll see. It's one of David's favorite brands. And like really what we're seeing, what I like about the platform is, and I don't think we make a big enough point about this, but it is truly a way for these companies to either reimagine their IP or just refresh it, and give it a new life. Like, I don't know anyone who's out buying a Slimer figurine from Ghostbusters 1, but everybody bought that Slimer collectible because it's awesome.
Cool,
right. And it's a new thing. And then if that creates new fans of that IP or of that brand again, introduces a new generation to them, like it's a really cool way for companies to get involved. And most of them have realized at this point that they need to figure out how to get into the digital space with their merchandise, with their products, those kind of things. And I mean, we're very blessed to be the guys that most of them are doing it with, it's just a really cool potentiality of VeVe, but also a really awesome way for licensors to reimagine their IP as well.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, I coincidentally actually know someone who also is in a catering business. They're a chef as well, and I think they also want to join VeVe.
What's the go-to meal there? That's
I went to the Pokemon Cafe in Japan, and I was like, hey, you know what? This would be a perfect segue.
Oh, that's great. Sorry.
Like,
listeners,
throw in the props.
Yeah, that's great. I like it. Too good, man. You're gonna have to adjust the volume on that section, I think.
Yeah.
That's a cracker.
Cool. Right, so moving on swiftly. So, so this kind of goes more into like the future stuff. So a couple of AMAs ago, so Mr. Dan Crovers, he mentioned something about a beta track coming, and I guess can we kind of discuss what features are coming? What can we expect? Feel free to
Yeah. So the main things in development at the moment are the accessories, which we've been talking about for quite a while now.
Accessories for your collectibles?
For the showrooms, first and foremost.
Oh, showroom. Okay. So finally, no more DeLorean fins for shelving.
Correct. Right.
When shelving?
When shelving, that's next, right? Yeah. So I don't know which ones will be available first, but yeah, we're talking sort of shelving, plinths, props. At some point, like house plants, you might be able to put a lounge or a couch in your showroom.
You know what? Brock was actually asking when house plants earlier.
Right. When house plant, right? Just because the whole idea of that showroom, like obviously we've all been looking at the version 1, right? And Version 2 is also pretty close. I think we might see a sneak peek of that in the next week or two. But the whole idea of that is to let you build your own digital space. And that has to come with more things that you can use to express however you want to design that. Like you just said, we've seen the DeLorean fin shelves. I love the disco floors with the Givenchy Pride.
That was epic. Chef Dizzy.
Yeah, man. Like there's so many, I've seen club lounges in people's showrooms now.
They use like the unicorn feet as like tables. I was like, that is
right. Like so, it's incredible to see how much creativity is already happening in the showrooms just using the collectibles. But when you can add different sorts of partition walls, eventually you'll add extensions to your showroom. You can add a second level, or you can segment off. You can have your Ultraman collectibles. You can have your Batman collectibles. Like all of those things, and the customization of that space is enabled with these accessories.
Yeah,
and that will actually become a separate part of the store. So when you go to the VeVe store, you'll have like collectibles, accessories, at some point comics, which we can now, with those things as well. So accessories are in development. What else have we got? Actually, I wrote a few things down, I think. Obviously the immutable migration, but we can come to that later. And the comic book features are all underway as well. The beta track, like up until now, what we've really been doing is like design, develop, test, and launch. Just roll it out. But we want to get to a point where we can bring in people from the community to play with these things and give us feedback on them, so that we can refine that process a little more before it hits the platform. And like, what an awesome way to build in some FOMO. Like if you're some of the first people that get to play with these things or test them out and show them off, like it's it'll be fun. It'll be really fun. So that's the intention behind the beta track. Still a little ways off from probably rolling that out.
When that's so I'm being very careful with my language. When's that targeted for? I don't want to say when for, because people stick to dates.
For sure they do. Yeah, they look same thing. Every time I speak about things now, I'm like, oh, actually, by the end of next month, we're kind of expecting this thing and this thing and this thing, but that list is growing. So, it's in development. I'd love to see it by the end of July. Let's say sometime in August, just to kind of be safe there.
Kind of targeting that kind of range.
And look, in the next few weeks, we have the lead up to Comic-Con. So that's going to take a lot of our energy and efforts just to prepare for and to get content into the store, plan those drops, especially around the event. Like we will be doing some Comic-Con exclusives. I think people have probably figured out that some of those will be Marvel things now. So we kind of need to get that ball rolling too. But in the last few months, we've expanded the team, and the dev team has continued to grow. So we have more hands, so we can have people working specifically on that now. And as you would be aware, we don't just click a button and you can put some plants in your showroom. Anything you build in, then you've got to test it against everything else in the app. Then you've got to test it under load. Then we've got to make sure one couch doesn't crash the whole app or something like that. So it's always an iterative process, but that's up next in the pipeline, I think.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow, fantastic. Just on that point of kind of rolling out new stuff. So I recall hearing that the kind of launch with Comic-Con, that's been kind of branded as, I guess VeVe's launch. Like Comic-Con is going to be VeVe's launch for like the first time, technically. Well, not technically, because we already had launch, but like the proper launch. So what do you want to like talk a little bit about that? Why kind of suggested?
And I will just say that's what I've been saying. I kind of take this as the launch, VeVe coming out party. We're gonna. It's the first time that it will really be on display, right, or on show. Like even all the Marvel news that's gone out in the last 24 hours, like, okay, people saw it and got excited about it. I don't know how many of those people then went and downloaded the app, right? Whereas at the actual event, we can say, okay, well, if you download the app right now, you have 1 hour to get this collectible or something like that, right? So it gives us opportunity. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but
it's a very cool idea.
Yeah, right. Like
everyone will be rushing for Wi-Fi. Give me signal, hotspot me.
Exactly. You know, and I guess the intention with the Comic-Con exclusives, obviously this one is a wholly virtual event, but there's another one later in the year. Is it New York Comic-Con in October or?
The one in London is in November, and it's going to be in person. And it's like the largest one in Europe. So
right.
If you want to come to that, it'll be cool.
I do. I'll see if the boys want to pay for my flights. You know, but the intention with those kind of events is that we can have the geotagging or the geolocating things. So you have to be present there to be able to collect some of those things.
Yeah.
So we're going to try that same model, I suppose, with a virtual event, but obviously, I guess you have to time it or something. So for me, and I think that most people in the company would agree, like we've come through the beta stage now. We've tested the app. It is now ready to accommodate the million or million plus users. We have the brands on board to generate that excitement. And for a lot of people at this event, like this might be the first time they ever see an NFT, let alone a Marvel NFT or something like that, right? And the first time they start to understand the value propositions behind it, and explore that fandom as well. Not to mention, like obviously we've got some of the biggest exhibitors at Comic-Con, right? Like Marvel and DC and all of that. So yeah, I think it's a really incredible opportunity for us to raise that mainstream awareness. There's no bigger pop culture event than San Diego Comic-Con. I just think all the pieces feel right for this to kind of be a bit of a launch. You know, I don't think we'll officially call it that, but in essence, that's kind of what's happening here. So
that's impressive. That's really cool. So with the whole kind of Comic-Con stuff, could we be expecting, I guess, like the CE drops, the Comic-Con exclusive ones?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's you know, because up until now we've got the first appearance and the first edition. So this will be the first time we see that badge, the Comic-Con exclusive, which is really cool. I mean, not to harken on about Pokemon, but you may remember, like back in the day, Pokemon Red and Blue on Game Boy. And the only way you could get Mewtwo was to go to, you know, like a certain store release or something like that, and they would trade it to your device. You know, I guess it's playing on that idea that all right, well, you've made the effort to attend this event, or you're truly a fan, so now we can reward you. And man, those identifiers just have some crazy bragging rights.
So what you're saying is when we attend the VeVe launch, we're all going to get Mew on our VeVe app. Pokemon confirmed.
Why do you do this to me, man?
It had to be done.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So yeah, we will see the Comic-Con exclusive, which is really cool. You know, it's a cool way to roll that out. And like I say this to people all the time with the first appearances, right? Like, I only learned this when we started building this, but the first appearance of something, whether in a new form, whether it, you know, the first appearance of Batman in a comic book, or the first physical sculpture, or now, you know, the first digital version, like they're not just things that people desire because they were the first. Like they're a little piece of history. You know, they really represent that moment in time, which I personally think is what gives them a lot of value. But as a collector's item, you know, like, I think that just adds another little element to why they're desirable. So to be able to collect these Comic-Con exclusive things, like it represents obviously this Comic-Con, but also if you're not there, you can't get them, for starters, which drives most people crazy. It's just another way to add that collecting element to it. It'll be really cool.
Perfect. So just in terms of kind of like new features rolling out, some of us in the community would remember there was a feature that was teased. You could drive your common DeLorean. And then that feature obviously was kind of removed. So people kind of got a little bit of a teaser there. So could we expect to see not just the, I guess, drivable feature, the drivable DeLorean, but could we see other kind of, fun ways to interact with NFTs in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. It all depends on which NFTs and those kind of things. Like some of them will be animated like the Ritmo, right, in constant kind of animation. I think we saw some early versions of Velcana from Monster Hunter.
Doing the death attack.
Yep, on David Yu's Instagram, if anyone wants to check that out. So there'll be those kind of animations. I have learned more recently that to be able to physically move around and change the posture of your collectibles, they need to be designed with a skeleton inside them.
A rig,
Right, rig. So you can do that. So I guess that will continue. But yeah, the whole idea of these things, at least, might not happen in the next couple of months, is that we really move into the realm of digital toys rather than static digital collectibles. Now, around that, whether it's IP specific, we can build in a lot of mini games. Maybe eventually you walk into the showroom and there's some really cool games you can play there. And maybe you have the potential to win prizes or something like that. In the VeVeVerse, I would love to get to a point where you can drive your DeLorean to your friend's showroom or something like that, and just have that kind of interactivity coming in. But the intention is to make it as immersive as we possibly can and build in as many of those features as we can moving forward. But that's a Trevor thing, right? That's a gamification style thing. He knows what it takes to actually make that happen. And to do it in a way that is as premium quality as what we're producing, right? You don't want just some janky little, I don't know, drive about game where you want it to be as high quality as it can be to maintain that standard.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that these licensors can see the value proposition of VeVe, like the quality of it, because when I was reading the article that was put out, it was quoted that the president of Marvel said that VeVe was chosen, and that to me implied they had clearly looked at other options, and VeVe was just like the right one. So I think that just goes to show that, because a lot of people who kind of think they run a multinational business but have clearly not, they think that the best thing to do for a company is to get to market as fast as possible, regardless of where your product is in development, and just absolutely spam the crap out of it. And that's like the worst thing to do, because you're going to get a product which is like very subpar, and you're putting a subpar product in front of people's faces. And as soon as a product with a much better experience comes along, yes, you've raised awareness of the industry that this product is in. In this case, would be NFTs, but now you've got a competitor in that space with a much better product. People are just going to move to that. And I believe that's the case of VeVe, because I've made a lot of comparisons of VeVe to Tesla, for example, because Tesla wasn't the first electric vehicle manufacturer, but they just had a very, very refined product. And you saw the increase in their valuation as even when competitors came on board. And that's what I'm seeing with VeVe is, people saw Binance, and it was so funny. It was hilarious. Like people just flooded the Binance tweet about, the drop coming out, and people just saying, oh, it was a scam, it sold out. People just posting their VeVe NFT collectibles on there. And some people were actually like, oh, the Toki Dokis. Because there was a Toki Doki drop for Binance. So yeah, it was pretty funny. And people can see the quality and everything. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's only so many things you can do that set you apart from the competition, and obviously the licenses and the content we have is one, but the quality of that content, the quality of the experience, the ease of use, the onboarding, we recognized very early that we had to build this in a way that everybody could understand, or you are already against the wall. You're building to a very limited audience, right? And look, some of these other NFT projects and the content is really cool, and some of it will make it and cross over. But it's really hard to take a product that you've established purely for crypto people and then build in ways to try and move into the other market. Now, same deal, right? We weren't the first NFT project, right? And other products launched before ours. There's even another licensed, another product doing licenses as well.
Yeah.
But our product is better, it's the experience is better. And I was saying this with Chad from NFT Pirates yesterday as well. Like if people can understand it, it's much easier to convince them to make a purchase, right? Or you don't have to convince them to make a purchase because it's something that they want to invest in or acquire. And once they have, as soon as you're financially invested in something, like you build in that emotional attachment to it as well.
Yeah.
Right. And then everybody is incentivized, as you've probably learned, to go and share it with the rest of the world, because the more people that are in this, the better it is for everybody. The better, the more the market spreads out, the more that fair value gets decided, the more demand there is for the product and the collectibles. And, from a business point of view, the bigger that network grows, the more licenses want to come on board, so it's that really positive feedback loop. But it stems with the product and it stems from that upper tier quality and experience from day one.
Yeah. That's definitely, no, that's really, really good to hear. So obviously there are people who haven't actually read the updated blog on Ecomi with the OMI token utility. And I made this point earlier that, multiple times actually, you can't accurately model the burn rate of OMI because there's just going to be more utility baked in over time. For example, the initial kind of models of burn rate were only focusing on like primary market sales, and then we got the 2.5% from secondary market, and then people had to kind of redo their models and say, okay, now this is how it's going to look like. So in terms of OMI to gems, is that officially off the books? Is that going to be replaced with OMI to NFT?
Correct. Yeah. That's replaced with OMI to NFT, and you can cash in and out of gems separately. So we run two concurrent systems.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned earlier, once we have an MTL on board and whenever that can take place, people will still be able to go fiat to OMI, or, technically it's fiat to NFT, but it will facilitate another type of OMI purchase.
Oh, like under the hood.
Yeah. So, but we'll cross that down the line. So development of that is actually in being able to cash in and out of gems is underway as well. Again, hopefully we see that by the end of next month, because that can now take place before we fully migrate to immutable, because it's not using the token, right? And we don't need to kind of balance the books between each one. So as soon as that opens, we really open the economy of the app, right? Which is great. And I know people are screaming about the OMI to gem thing still, because like you said, they haven't read anything. But I think as soon as that's enabled, then that complaint disappears, because it gives people a way to extract value. Now, you and I both know the community has figured out how to do that anyway. There's obviously services you can use to sell your gems, which I'll take a moment to say we don't support if you do it on your own. But once we open that economy, and once we migrate to immutable and we can build in the OMI to NFT utility, then it really creates that velocity of money for the token, right? There's a need for it, there's a demand for it, there's a use for it. That's when we really start to see this play out properly. And look, that goes back to what we were saying earlier, right? Like, you launch a product, you have all these plans in place. Like, OMI to gem was available for the first couple of months until everything broke. And then with so many users and the system rebalancing, it just wasn't a viable option anymore. So the same as building in new, we re-engineered the app. We had to re-engineer the model to really accommodate that growing user base and still cater to the mainstream and the crypto side, right? That's really important for us to be able to do. It's one of our key value propositions. So being able to open both of those avenues and then introduce people to the token as we go, I just think it's the best system for everybody.
That's fantastic. So we can definitely look forward to kind of, I guess over time, more OMI utility getting baked into the ecosystem. And then with that, kind of like a better, more pressure on the burn for OMI as well, which kind of people are always asking about.
Absolutely. More pressure on the burn. Obviously as the user base grows and the products sell more money for the buybacks.
Yeah.
But then we bring in staking, right? And people always want to know about staking because they want it right now.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways we can do that, right? And we'll do it, right? Obviously, I guess at the base level, say you hold 1 million OMI for 30 days or something, then you get XP points, or I know you've brought this up before, maybe even a gold gem to be able to spend in store or against a certain drop, something like that. Maybe we get to a point where there's a drop coming up, because we will get to a point where you'll know more than 2 days out what's dropping.
Yeah.
You really want to participate in that drop, but your collector level isn't there yet, right? Like, because some drops might be like level 5 and above or something. So maybe you can then choose to burn 1 million OMI tokens to be able to get into that drop, or you can stake it ahead of time, specifically for it, right? Like, so there's a lot of options there.
That's actually a very good idea, actually. If you have OMI, because a lot of people do kind of hold OMI, but they just like don't know what to do with it. If you could actually, because that's essentially in a way like paying for entry into that drop, because you've paid for the OMI. So if you kind of sacrifice it, burn it, remove it from circulation, you could then get into the drop. And I see a lot of people who, if it's a collectible they want, they would happily burn 1 million OMI. Happy burn, like if you're a fixie, you'll happily burn 100 million OMI.
Exactly right. And if that's what it takes to get you access to something that you really love or that you believe will have value, people will do it. Even if it's, if we don't go that far, but you do have the opportunity to stake it for X amount of days to gain access.
Yeah.
Every single piece of that puzzle is reducing the circulating supply of the token.
Yeah.
And really, like, if you're getting an ongoing reward for staking it, every 30 days you get another gold gem or something like that, you're going to keep holding it out of circulation, right? It's benefiting the value of your token, or sorry, I should say the scarcity of your token.
Yeah.
And giving you rewards on the platform, which gives you access to an NFT that also has its own innate value. Like, it's a really encompassing system, and same as like, we're really good at what we do, but no one has all this stuff figured out day one. You go into it with a plan. Here's how we think it's going to work. Here's how here's the model we have at the moment. But business is so adaptive, and it has to be adaptive. You can't just stick to those rigid walls, or you get overtaken by the competition. So we will always continue to iterate, build in as many utilities and uses for the token. And then the VeVeVerse runs the same as the app, right? Like, it will still be underpinned by the token. Any transactions there will use it, like there's, the scope of the project just continues to expand. And with that, so does the use of the token.
So that's fantastic.
I understand. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm happy to acknowledge right now that, like, holding it now, and you need to understand where that's going to see the value in having the token now, right? Because you can't use it, right? And I guess that's where being an early adopter, people that are early to these things stand to have the most benefit from them, right? If you're doing the research, where that's going, people can see that we're delivering on the things that we say we're going to. So that's certainly enough for me to hold on to my bags.
That's fantastic to hear. Actually, this is a question that I was actually asked. So I've kind of spoken about it from my point of view, but it's obviously best if they hear it from you as well. So on the point of staking now, I was kind of saying, hey, if you stake OMI, suggested that you could, participate in certain drops, get like, kind of a special collectibles, so something that's like an in-app reward. And you do get people who say, I don't really care too much about the in-app rewards. Like the other types of staking where you get more tokens. Is that something that is going to be, so at the moment, from the way I understand it, is people can stake their tokens on certain exchanges as they provide liquidity to that exchange. And then they get a percent back after a certain lockup period. So Binance, for example, they do staking for loads of coins. So is this something that, staking OMI for OMI? Is this something that can be facilitated by VeVe, or is it more for exchanges?
Yeah, I think at least in the near term, anything like that would be facilitated by the exchange and on their terms.
Yeah.
Dan has mentioned this before, but any sort of financial incentive or reward we give out like that in the form of a token
Yeah.
could move the definition of our token from utility to security.
Security, yeah, compliance.
Right, and that's our number one. We have to make sure that we don't kind of irk into that area, not just because of securities law, like that's navigable, but securities law in crypto is still a very gray area, and you just, like you mentioned earlier, like the SEC or whoever will still come down on companies years later.
Yeah, they did that with Ripple, like, so many, after Ripple became big and people were holding bags full of it, then they came down on them. And I literally saw it go from like, wherever the high was to like 12 cents, which was like, less than 2017 levels. I was like, wow, like these people got hammered.
Yeah, that's it, right? And we want to build in as many reward mechanisms and incentive mechanisms as we can, but there's nothing worse that we can do than risking that sort of hot water, right? And that's not going to benefit anyone. So look, I think at the moment we're just going to. It's easier to say blanket. That's not what our staking is designed to do.
Yeah.
Now, staking, like we just said, staking in general reduces the circulating supply, which is good for everybody, but it's never been the intention to allow you to earn OMI tokens from that. Maybe there's, I was talking to Adam Moore, who most people will know in the community, a couple of days ago. He has some great ideas, but maybe in the market, like part of that fee, if you took 1% of the seller's fee and distributed that amongst stakers somehow.
Oh, that could work. Yeah.
If it's peer-to-peer, like maybe there's some room to move there.
Because I've read that it won't count as a security if the investment you have, if you get a return on it by doing some form of work, which is the whole concept of POS staking. You're doing some kind of work. So by that definition, it's not considered a security. It's only if you hold it and do nothing and then you get tokens, that would make it a security.
Right. That's the distinction. Yeah. So, look, for now, I'm just going to say that it's more rewards on the app. But obviously, if same as anything, if that becomes available to us and in a real way, like we're going to try and integrate it. It's like I think people forget that we all have tokens too.
I know. You guys have a development fund, which is OMI, so it benefits you for OMI to be valued higher. So you got more money to buy licenses with.
Yeah, exactly, and develop the ecosystem, and so we're going to keep doing what we can for that to that end. So we'll see where that evolves. I think a lot of people gave Trevor some really good ideas too. Yeah, when he opened it up, and like I've said in a couple of AMAs, like there's no other product or company that, like, you don't get real time feedback like we do in this space. We have you guys always giving us the feedback from the community and ideas, and the community can interact with us directly. It's really amazing to be able to take that on and shape a product based on it, because that's what we're building it for. Like we think it's cool, but like we want you guys to enjoy it, It's it's a really cool way to build a product too.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying this from literally day one, like, because I've been in the crypto space for about 5 years now. And I've never ever been in a project where the team, the co-founders, everyone, they like engage with the community so much. Every week there's like, every week there's something new. Not even every week, I would say pretty much every day there's something new, something to talk about, which is probably why it's helped my YouTube channel so much. And it's so cool just seeing this, not just speculation, but things happening, in front of our eyes. There's a Marvel logo behind you because it's happened. You guys have made it happen. And I think that was just a huge proof of concept as well, because before we had the Marvel announcement, it was just a consistent downtrend, people just flooding OMI, Ecomi, VeVe, saying these guys, they don't have all of this stuff. And then what's interesting is, since that day you guys announced Marvel, so there's this guy who's quite well known in the community called David Rosen, and he always calls Ecomi a e-scammy, like in every video. So I just floods Ecomi all the time. Since the Marvel drop, I have not seen him. So it's done something.
How interesting. I did see a David Rosen comment yesterday. I was like, who is this clown? Yeah, I mean, that's how it is, right? There's always the haters and the doubters, and they can fight you all they want, and then eventually they have to join you because you can't argue against it anymore, you know. And yeah, like I said earlier, like obviously Marvel is huge, but there's so many cool things coming. Like it's well, the goal was always to corner this market, and obviously with David and Al, we really had that potentiality, and frankly, I think we continue to do that now. With these. So yeah,
cool.
It's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I know you said you won't say, you know, you won't use the term 12 out of 10 anymore for obvious reasons, but so Marvel is huge. Can we expect other things of a 13 out of 10 caliber coming?
Yeah, look, like I said, it depends on your understanding, your impression of these brands. There's definitely some that I am super excited for. Let's call them 10 out of 10s just to play it safe.
Okay.
You know, and
stay in the range.
Yeah, stay in the range, right? And as I said, like every new brand that rolls out and gets announced just validates us more as a product and a business, and puts us into the awareness of the next tier of brands. So, you know, we are bringing on new brands all the time and new licenses, and I fully anticipate that continuing, even to the point where, you know, that any that were sitting on the fence prior to the Marvel announcement that are now aware of it, you know, that's more fuel to the fire for them to get on board. Yeah. Or really those brands stand to fall behind too, you know, they lose market share. So yeah, that's we'll leave it at that for now. I'm going to be very hesitant talking about the announcement like that. So
yeah, definitely. Just on the point of talk about announcements, so this is more kind of, I guess, another kind of question that I've been, not question, but something that I've just been asked about from more than one person. And kudos to Dan, because I've noticed he's quite careful with this as well, is the whole topic around language. So a lot of people in the community, they've said, you know, when there's a company, especially as you know, amazing as VeVe, when it comes to announcing things, language can obviously, so I can appreciate the fact that because VeVe is such a global brand now, there are people who have English not as their first language, or, you know, there's people with like varying levels of English comprehension, for example, and when they read things, they can misinterpret it quite easily. And obviously that's not your fault. You guys are just putting out whatever's there. But you know, when things like, you know, people asked David Yu when the next exchange was coming on his Instagram, and you know, he said May. He didn't specify the year in his defense. so you know, it could have been May 2022. But yeah, he said May, and then people kind of saw that as a definitive, it's May, not like we're targeting May or around May. They just saw May because that's what he wrote. Is it worth maybe just a conversation, like, you know, should we kind of change the way that we say things now, like use words such as we're targeting or aiming for this date, just to kind of like, you know, just satisfy these people? Because I don't think it'll be any real effort on your side just to like, you know.
Yeah, we already have, right? And that's, we've actually always done it, right? And now, just to touch on that exchange in May, that was ready to go. We were lined up, announcements ready. I'd written an article. David mentioned it. You know, people saw it on their portfolios. And then 3 days before that exchange, asked us for our ERC20 contracts. And we had to say, we sent you our GoChain stuff months ago. What do you mean? You know, so whether it was miscommunication or what, so he said that definitively, because until it didn't happen, it was meant to happen then, you know, it was definitive to take place then. Now we have, like you've just said, everything that goes out now, we make sure that we've changed that language. Even in the token article that just went out, and I'm going to point this out to people. It says development will start in Q3. It does not say we will deliver this day, on this moment. This is when we're starting. We will obviously try to launch these things as soon as we can. But you know, there are no definitive dates in development. And I agree, right? I have a lot of people that scream at you promised us this. Where is this announcement you promised? Now, I have never once promised anything to anybody, and none of the team have, right? We've never used that word. But as you said, whether it's a language barrier or just a misinterpretation or whatever goes on, you know, people do expect these things to be definitive, and it comes from a lack of understanding of business and development and what it actually takes to roll out features or announcements, or, you know, to put the pieces in place. You know, even a perfect example, when I mentioned the 12 out of 10, that was 2 months ago, and we thought this was going to happen, right? And because we were told that it was almost ready to go, and then whatever took place to slow that down or prevent it did, right? So it's really hard. It sucks, right? Because I want to let people know that there are exciting things coming. So does David, so does Dan. We really want to bring people in so that they have things to look forward to. But then if it's not delivered that exact second, it backfires. So we're kind of caught between that rock and a hard place where, well, we either keep our mouths shut and don't mention anything, and then everyone gets annoyed because we're not mentioning anything.
Or, you're not transparent enough. It seems suspicious.
Right? Yeah. Or you try to allude to something, and then it's our fault when it doesn't happen that day. So it's a hard line to walk, but that's just where we're at.
Interesting. That's pretty. Yeah, I mean, definitely. Because on the language point, it was quite funny actually. And it just like really made me more aware of the kind of I guess differences, like the colloquialisms with language as well. So we read the Marvel article that was written, the New Zealand one, and it was so funny. Like Cavell was basically he kind of covered it as well, and he was like, kiwi, what's a kiwi? And I was just reading the comments, people like, kiwi, is that the fruit, the animal? Someone's like, kiwi, is that a type of Pokemon? Is this a Pokemon hint? Like people just didn't. Like, I know what a kiwi is like, but people just didn't know what kiwis were.
That made me laugh too. Someone asked about it in one of the comments, and I guess you just kind of forget that not everybody, you know, has traveled or knows what you're talking about. It's like calling Australians and Aussie. Well, we call New Zealanders Kiwis, right? So a couple of Kiwis. You know, you don't think about it until someone questions it, and then you're like, of course. People don't know what we're talking about. Like it's one of those things. But hey, can we just pause this for 1 sec? I'm just going to just nip to the bathroom and maybe give my dad back his phone if my internet's working.
Yeah, sure.
Again.
Let me just pause this.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so continuing. So actually, just on the point of kind of like being excited to like you know, share things, but you can't share things. People kind of always saw that side coming from Trevor, because people just he just oozes out enthusiasm, and so just for like people who are going to be watching right now, you know, leave in the chat Team Rhys or Team Trevor, because that question has not been answered yet. Choose your character.
Trevor's great. He's so awesome to have, and he's the same. He loves interacting with people and getting to know the community. You know, he's kind of said a few times that he used to be able to do that at Riot, I think, where he was working before, and it was part of the job that he really loved. Just on that, I think there will be a bit of a Team Rhys, Team Trevor battle coming out soon.
Is that a game in the VeVeVerse?
No, I wish. Maybe, just secret level. We'll build one. But, I'll give it a plug now, and I'm sure the boys will too. But Chad and NFT Pirates, Ecomi homies, they're all putting together a meme competition for the community. So stay tuned for that as well.
I think Shaq is going to be on that. Credits to Shaq, who has done the intro for this video.
Nice.
So follow at Shaq Attack.
Yep. Shout out Shaq. Shout out OG Ecomi the Fuzzball, OG Lord himself. Man, there's so many awesome people in this community. Like, it's just
definitely.
I love it. I love seeing it come together.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely like a very diverse, cool community. I've never actually seen a crypto community like this, because I've been through a lot of crypto communities, and definitely Ecomi's one's probably like the most cohesive one that I've seen.
Yeah, that's it. The people that that understand what's going on anyway. You know, there's been a lot of screaming children in the last few months, but that's just part of the journey, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just going to say, for me, like I've said this in a few interviews, but for 2.5 years, there was me and 2,000 people in a Telegram, and I probably spoke to 50 of them or 100 of them. You know, the rest weren't really active, or I don't even know if they were aware they were still part of the group.
Yeah.
You know, and huge credit to those early adopters and investors who literally sat through 2 years of me saying, like, it's coming soon, you know, without something to show for it. But to go from that to this crazy expansion where people are, you know, running their own YouTube channels. Now all the YouTubers are jumping into each other's shows. You know, it's to kind of sit at the center of that and watch it play out has just been almost as incredible as the product to me. You know, like to truly see the community take hold. Everyone has their own little niche. You know, you come at it from a software development point of view, so you can put a really logical spin on some of the development side of things, and you know, I love it. We're so appreciative of it, you know, and we're trying to build in ways to better support you guys as well, and to show our appreciation there. So stay tuned for some of that stuff too.
That's actually pretty cool. Yeah, definitely, because we did also hear like one of my friends, he's a YouTuber as well, Wannabe Champ, he did say it would be really cool if Ecomi like kind of works with the YouTubers as well, and kind of like in a mutually beneficial way, so they kind of like help each other grow. I think that would be really cool as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I envision a day that we have a, you know, Ecomi-con or VeVe-con, and the panelists are all you guys, you know, like cool. They're already doing it. Everyone's already having these conversations with each other. It'd be really cool, you know.
Definitely. There's already been people saying we're gonna have the 10-cent OMI day, where we basically fly out to like somewhere and, you know, splash out on like a proper splash out on a proper VeVe Comic-Con. That would be cool. So in terms of like kind of like new stuff that's coming, so Dan, he was talking about a new digital product coming to the platform. So can we do you want to share what that is?
Yeah. So I won't go into too much detail. I think Dan is going to jump into it more in this week's community AMA. But the digital comics, right, are what's coming to VeVe. You know, I think people may have misunderstood that and think that we're releasing comic cover art like we did with the Ultraman 2D covers. Now that will definitely be part of it, but we're actually talking like full comic books. You know, the collectible comic books, obviously from Marvel. We'll see if there's other companies that roll out the same product later. In a fully immersive way, like e-reader style, where you can actually, you know, you highlight the panels, read each panel, turn the pages, read the comic book in AR. So it's accessing another type of collector, right? And big fans of comic books. There's a whole other market sector of people. Again, it's providing a way to digitize that content. I don't know if you are subscribed to Marvel Unlimited or anything like that, but they produce, I don't know the exact number, but 50, 60, 70 comics a week or something crazy like that. Like it's a huge industry still, right? And brings with it a big collector crowd as well. So super excited to see that roll out as well, and just another awesome product that people can collect. And another product vertical for the platform. So
I think that's going to be really amazing, because like people used to like freak out when you know, comics or things, they had like something slightly different, like maybe if it was a black and white comic and there was like a panel that was in color, they would like go crazy. It's like, oh my god, they've got a color panel. Or like you know, like certain IP brands, they would release like books, and they would have like a pop-up page, so you turn a page and there would be like a character that pops out. So I think that will work really, really well with digital comics. Like you could have a page where you have like an animation that appears, or like, and some kind of AR character that appears from that page and like does something, like, you know, like if it's Avengers one, like Thanos doing the snap, you turn the comic page and you can see Thanos, like, you know, pop up and actually do the snap. Like that would be crazy.
Exactly right. And the same innate value proposition of digital collectibles translates to comics, right? You don't need to, I mean, if you're a comic book collector, if you want to actually read the comic, you're turning the page with tweezers and you're slipping it back into a cryo-backed thing and keeping it away from everyone, same as collectibles, you keep in the packaging and it has to sit on the shelf for 20 years. Like all of those things are redundant when you're dealing with a digital collectible, right? And you still have the scarcity, the 1 of 1,000 or whatever it is. And for fans of the brands, like this isn't to say that this is what's being released, but the earliest Marvel comics, I think it was the Human Torch was one of the first ones released before Marvel was Marvel, right? Like I don't know how many copies of that exist still, right? And it's obviously a very sought after item. But if you've ever wanted something like that and we can re-release it as a digital product now, well, you can enjoy that part of your fandom and get to use it and get to interact with it and actually and still get to own it, and have that claim over something that you really enjoy. So yeah, I'm super excited for the comics. Personally, I don't know, like I'm not a massive comic book person. But I feel like I'm going to become one after this, So yeah, it's really cool. And for me, from a literary standpoint, like comics are just a really cool expression of that art and culture. Which I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I think definitely it's going to help VeVe. You could probably market in a point where you're releasing comics, which is going to help people, get people reading, and then because they're reading more, they'll finally be able to understand, things that you put out. Like, hey, they finally know what we mean.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Educating everyone through NFTs.
Yeah. And really, that's what this is, right? We're bringing new people into a new industry and using these products as the bridge to do it. And it's taking something you already know and love, or an experience you already know and love. Yeah, and modernizing it. Frankly, we're bringing these things into the digital world because that's not going anywhere anytime soon. So
exactly.
That's really cool.
That's really cool stuff. Just on the point of kind of like new things coming out. So we know we've got accessories for showrooms. We've got like the new kind of comics, or a new type of digital product. With VeVeVerse, and I can see that you guys have quite a lot of like brands that are kind of like in for example trading card games. Could we potentially see more digital products down the line? Maybe kind of like trading cards where innately they are designed to be games, right? Something that would like fit in quite well with a gaming kind of metaverse.
Yeah. As you've just said, I think that those. As a product, absolutely. Right. There's definitely other types of digital products. And then depending on that product, you have different gamification elements that you can build in. And it's probably something we should talk to Trevor about a bit more. And he may not have information on it for a few months yet. But absolutely, right. The part of the gamification, or even just mini games, if you can go into someone's showroom and play some mini games, depending on what they have, it obviously augments the user experience. It improves app retention because now there's more you can actually do in there as well. So absolutely, those things will build in. The VeVeVerse as well. I think we've alluded to this, but we'll obviously have branded content and things like that. Our favorite resident t-shirt maker was suggesting that you could almost have different theme parks. You have a DC world or a Marvel world or those kind of, and then whether they build it or we build it, like you could have licensed or branded games within that, and different experiences. So like, I think that's where this goes. Frankly, I really think that that's what we should be using the IP to that capacity, to build in more and better experiences. And it's just another thing that continues to set us apart from the competition, right? There are other metaverses out there, other gaming metaverses, but like none of them have the IP that we have, which is really cool, right? And then eventually I imagine the day we get to the point where a new movie rolls out, and then you can go and play, that kind of content specific game within the VeVeVerse or something like that. This has always been built around the fandoms, and accessing people's fandoms and what they enjoy doing. So we'll continue to build those experiences. To allow people to interact. And I think it says something to that effect in the Marvel press release anyway, we really understand the nature of collecting, and they look forward to this partnership to be able to bring more interactions to their fan base moving forward, Marvel's always been really innovative in that field, and really the audience. And I think this is just another element that they've realized they can really integrate.
Yeah, no, that sounds really, really cool. Some of these ideas, it just like blows my mind that, we could be seeing this stuff. Because having seen this kind of stuff in the physical world. So for example, with trading cards, people, when they hear trading cards, they think of, the kind of market leaders. They think of Yu-Gi-Oh, they think of Pokemon. But there have been hundreds of trading card companies that just didn't really go anywhere because they just created a trading card, series. It didn't have like any kind of backstory because Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon, they had the kind of animated series that gave it a story, and when you play with these cards, you feel like you're involved in that story. Then you had kind of like the games to add more context, and that's kind of like good place for like VeVeVerse to kind of come in as well. And you would only like really notice if you are a collector of these things, like which things do well and why. Why did it appeal to you? And that's what the team is. They're collectors, which is why I feel like VeVe's they've approached it the right way. And
as you've just alluded to, it's the layers that get people involved and keep them involved, right? If you just start with a trading card and there's no need for all right, we can swap these things or finish the series and that's it. You don't have that attachment to it. And that's why most of them go nowhere, right? Whereas like a Yu-Gi-Oh, or you're a fan of the show, now you can collect the cards that have their own game or use, but it's also part of the memorabilia or merchandise. Then there's console games. Then there's, it builds in more and more ways for you to interact with that thing that you're a fan of. And coming at it from that perspective, as we have, with Al Khan's experience and everything else. That's why we do it in this phased rollout too, right? Like, all right, app first, cool, that worked. Now we get the web platform, then the VeVeVerse, so you can do so much more stuff with your collectibles, and you just layer it on that way, and build out the audience as you go, so that people are continually incentivized to participate. And that's where the master collector comes in as well. That's and as you would be aware. In any of these collectible systems, it's the early adopters that stand to benefit the most from these kind of things.
100%.
To get those season 1 collectibles, or even just to have the understanding of the system and watch it develop. And you've got your own YouTube show from this. People are emotionally invested in this. We are all spending our time on it. And that means that we're all dedicated to it and incentivized to continue to bring that awareness to more people.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's really cool because, like, for example, with trading cards, you can have, physical ones where they may just have one variation of it and that's the set. But, with VeVe, with all the brands and IPs, and, we've seen variations of different types of things, like the bombshells. I feel like there's just so much scope, and they just can just, expand to various other digital products, and then all of that can, have OMI baked into it as well, in terms of the utility. I can see that in terms of scalability, there's so much.
It's the first time something like this has taken place, right? We are the first digital collectibles platform that kind of existed. And we've come at it with such a huge scope of vision that it really does continue to expand in a lot of different avenues. And with VeVe as the central point of that, right? And then you can go off and do the things you enjoy doing, or own the items you enjoy owning. So it's Yeah, we've always said we wanted to be the Netflix of NFTs, the Netflix of digital collectibles, and at least to this point, I think we're achieving that, striving towards it. So
yeah, no, I'm definitely looking to like because there are brands that I really love and brands that other people love, and if VeVe kind of like takes those brands, releases them various different variations, different formats, I feel like there is just never going to be really that stage where you feel kind of like dissatisfied because there's like nothing else for you to do. Like there's variations of things that I collect. Like you can have like one variation of one of these, and then you could have like another variation of a D. It's like just never ending.
yeah, but it is, right. It's never ending. There's always new ways to interact, and like I was in a clubhouse yesterday with Frank Kozak, who has announced that he's rolling out
the Labbits. Yeah,
right, and he's the same. He said he really loves having the audience or the fan interaction so that he can tailor what he's doing and sort of, give the fans what they want, I suppose. But he also was happy to make the point that, like he wouldn't be able to reach an audience just selling his art on his own, right? Like he doesn't have the same access that VeVe now provides these artists or these brands, right? Because it really is already a global audience. So that content gets disseminated across the world. A lot of people probably had no idea who Ron English was until a month or two ago, or never paid attention to it. And now they own his work and they look into it. And, so it's an awesome platform for fans, but it's an awesome platform for artists and people like that to just reach more fans or create that audience around them, and if one artist is doing it, then of course the next one is going to want to do it. And you build that in as well for their sake as well as ours. Which for David, as a genuine fan and collector of a lot of this work, I can't imagine wiping the smile off his face if he's helping people's, he enjoys their work and he's helping them expand their career or their fan bases too. Like that's an awesome thing to be able to facilitate.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, that's definitely like quite I guess inspiring to hear as well. And it's definitely very reassuring to kind of just see, everything that VeVe's done to kind of, be compliant, kind of target this market, go from, I would say, the most riskiest stage, survive that, and then now go through this kind of phase of growth and, getting more adopters on in like, different phases. So I definitely see that this is a project because a lot of people have this concern about the, impending crypto bear market and how, that's going to like destroy VeVe, etc. But I feel like the way that VeVe was designed. So I recall in an AMA, part of the reason one of the products like kind of got abandoned was there was a crypto bear market that hit. I think it might have been like the Ecomi 1 stuff. So I guess, having thought about how to structure OMI and everything in terms of tokenomics to kind of be a bit more resistant to, a bear market, for example, where all crypto prices are low, because you still got a burn baked in, which benefits from lower OMI prices. Correct.
Yeah. And that's even to get to the point of launching VeVe, like so many things have happened on this journey, you know, and most people weren't around for it, but like, we had a raise back in 2018 and we had 4 products, the wallet, the collectibles platform, the Ecomi 1, which was meant to be a payment card. And we were going to start a VeVe Vault, which is like decentralized file storage, and that was kind of the original plan. Had the white paper, tried to build this audience, all of that. I think by the time we kind of got to it, there was exhaustion in the market. And then the day we launched the raise, ETH fell off a cliff, the whole market tanked, and we were just well and truly in a bear market for 2 years, So we came through that, we built through the bear market, right? And a lot of companies didn't survive. We stripped everything back. We got rid of the vault and the one, restructured the tokenomics, the product, re-raised, went out there and same again, right? This is still at a point where no one had any idea about NFTs. We had all these aspirations of bringing on world-class licenses, but we didn't have any in the bag yet, or I think we had Tokidoki maybe at that point, but even when we started, we thought, oh, by the time we go to raise, we'll have 3 or 5 brands that we can take to people to, to try and raise money. And you can't actually do that. These companies won't let you leverage their brand for you to raise funds.
Yeah.
And they're like, we couldn't even announce any of them until the product was officially live, right? And
yeah,
I think going back to what we mentioned earlier, that's why no sort of DC press release came out before the app went live, right? They couldn't legally, we weren't allowed to do that. So
yeah,
like we are battle hardened, we came through the bear market. We've tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed until we found the formula and the right product. And then to be completely honest, like the difference between a successful and an unsuccessful business is timing. And with all the delays and all the things that went on in the background that led to us removing the code at the end of December, like a week later, Mark Cuban, Gary Vee, Chamath, like all of these big dogs in the space, obviously a lot of momentum in the crypto area space, but all started talking about NFTs all at once, and never in our wildest dreams could we have foreseen that. But it happens, for me at least, it almost, you get to a point where you think, yeah, of course it happened that way. We've put in the hard yards, we've grinded and we've done the work, and like Dan and David worked for free for that first 3.5 years, and until we could get this off the ground. So yeah, all credit to them, to the team, to everyone that stuck through it with us, in that bear market, and just hope. So yeah, look, I do think crypto goes into another bear market. That's a normal market cycle. Right? You have booms and busts. That's just the way they play out. And obviously, as you mentioned, we've designed the tokenomics to try and be as resilient as possible if and when that happens, right?
Yeah.
But we're not here for 3 weeks, right? We're here. We're building an industry, let alone a product.
Yeah.
And we've built it to survive, the product to survive regardless of market conditions, which will continue to benefit OMI holders, and then there will be another bull market, I should say, in 4 years or whenever it plays out, which people can just take greater advantage of, compared to a lot of projects that are starting now, very late in this cycle. Like, who knows if they make it through, and look, I'd like to compare that. We're little guys. We've managed to build this, through blood, sweat, and tears. Then you've got a company like EOS, and not to rag on anyone, but like they raised $2 billion, $2 billion, and even they couldn't deliver a product. They're like nothing that's user friendly. So like, yeah, when you really have that perspective of the industry at large, what it takes to build a business, what it takes to build a business in a new and emerging idea, and to get to this point is that's exceptional, and we're going to see how it plays out in the crypto bear market. But really, that's, in the next few months with mainstream awareness, we onboard more users, it creates that market and that velocity for the token. You add in the staking, you have the burning, you have the buybacks, like there's an ongoing demand that is rewarding you. And I guess this is the fundamental point of difference. We have a real product, we have a thing that you can
There
enjoy.
is a product.
There is a product, and the fact that the token is affected by the sales of a real product, just, that we're in the 1% of crypto projects, that have something, and we're probably in the 0.1% of projects that have any potential of making it into the mainstream. Because and that's what the vision has always been, right? We built it that way. We've got the licenses, we're attracting the fans so that the ecosystem runs regardless of the crypto market.
Yeah, I think people don't really understand just, to get into the mainstream, because crypto as a whole is relatively new. A lot of these, massive companies, they've seen what's been happening in the media with the meme coins and stuff. They're quite like, kind of cautious around crypto as a whole. And the fact that, we had Marvel literally just post about Ecomi yesterday, that just sent shockwaves. And I think, even if you go for a bear market, the collectibles, the NFTs, they're going to carry on selling. Just today, we were in the kind of one of the Ecomi chats, and we're like, hey, that Superman that was 100 gems a day ago is 200 gems. And then we checked again 10 minutes later, it's at 220 gems to floor. And it just kept going up. And then the death, you know, we obviously went through a cycle where people kind of were just flipping it. They bought in, they dumped it on the market. And then today we were looking and it's like, hey, the floor went from like 120 gems to 300 gems now. It's like appreciated a lot. And I think that was partly to do with the Marvel news. I'm pretty sure that must have brought in some new users or some old users that kind of stopped using it. They brought them back. Because the floor prices and everything's just been going up on VeVe. The Ritmo, I was so happy I finally got Ritmo. And it was like the cheapest one on the market. It was like 730 gems. I was like, I don't care about the mint. I just want my, you know, animated unicorn. And yeah, I checked again, like just literally just now, similar mint, about 130 gems more than what I had paid. And this was in the span of, you know, less than a week. So
that's
I can
crazy,
kind of see the collectible side just going up.
Yeah, exactly right. And really brands like Marvel help us introduce the collectible side of this to more audiences, right? And people, that brings in collectors who already understand the value propositions of it, and probably motivates people that have these things to stop flipping them for now in anticipation of a bigger user base coming in. You know, now I still think the free market will decide that. If you are actually trying to sell something, but you've set it at 10,000 gems and nobody's buying it, well, eventually you're going to lower the price until someone buys it. But yeah, I just think people are starting to wake up to the potential of these assets, the future of the platform, all of those things, which is very gratifying, you know, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, you can say you guys were there first.
Yeah, exactly right. You know, like, this industry is only going to continue to grow outside of, you know, like the collectibles we're doing, like the NFT industry. Everything's going to be an NFT in 10 years or represented by an NFT, you know, and I think a lot of that is going to take place on Immutable. You know, they're really set up for it and building for that future. So even to be moving there is really awesome. But for all of us who understand it already, even if it's this pop culture way of getting into the NFT ecosystem, like we've got such a leg up on this technology, you know, and as you said before, the crypto ecosystem, although it's growing, is maybe like 5% penetration globally. And then the NFT ecosystem within that is probably like 0.5% globally, or, you know, like people that are aware of it. So there's so much room for growth, and to be positioned as leaders in the industry already. And I think we're in for a good few years. That's what I'll say there.
Yeah, that's some really, really exciting stuff to hear. Like, I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty sure everyone else who's watching is really excited as well. So I guess kind of like lastly, you know, VeVe obviously being innovative, they're kind of like bringing in, you know, things. They want to kind of like bring things first to the market. There was a question about, so this kind of ties into the Binance marketplace as well. People were kind of, obviously, I wouldn't expect people to have in-depth knowledge of licensing, to be honest. It's just not a thing that people should, you know, really need to know about. But people were worried that, you know, Tokidoki, it's not exclusive to VeVe. The brand isn't exclusive. They're kind of like on Binance as well. But there is kind of like more to the story, right? So although the brand might not be exclusive, what other companies working with the brand can do may be in a way exclusive. So for example, 3D AR Ritmo, obviously on VeVe, does that mean, you know, another company come along and do exactly the same 3D AR Ritmo?
So it all depends on the terms of the licensing deal as to what a company can do with that IP. So ours let us produce these collectibles in premium 3D models, and whatever other iterations come with that. Whereas the Binance ones, like, I know they had a cool unboxing, but they're just like 2D pictures, right? Am I right in that? Basically, there's no kind of no additions on top of those. So absolutely. The terms of the licensing deal stipulate what you can and can't do with that content. Now, a company like Tokidoki, this is how they grow their brand, right? They do collaborations, right? They've collaborated with Mattel and Barbie, I think, before.
Yeah.
Tiger, the shoes, Dim Mac.
They did it as well.
Yeah, right. There's even Le Sports Sac. I think right. That's how they grow their brand awareness and do these collaborations, and it's such a cool IP to be able to do that. And they'll continue to do that, right? That's fundamentally, these are licensing companies, and that is how you grow your bottom line as a business, right? Most of it is intangible assets or products these days. It's not the manufacture of a toy or something like that, right? So it absolutely, in the way that we're producing these things is how our licenses, or the stipulations of the agreement. And from the point of view of a company like Tokidoki or one of our brands, like it's no good to them to dilute their product either, right? If you had the same product available on 5 different platforms, you're actually making it worse for you as a company. So that's how that ties in. So we have those rights to produce them as we are. And, Tokidoki as the licensor has a whole lot of different verticals in terms of which brands they have, like the Mermicornos we've seen already, the Unicornos, Donatella and Friends, things like that, which we've already secured, and they'll be some of the Tokidoki brands that we roll out on the product. But they might have some other brands, like the Gundam style ones you mentioned earlier, or something like that, right? That roll out on a different platform, and that's fine. People will be attracted to the ones that they enjoy the most, or they want to interact with, and that's how the industry works. So it's the same with all our other licenses, I guess, where we have the rights to these things. Now, having worked with a lot of these companies for 2 years now, and going back, and Dan and David, they tried to sell them on the vision, go back a few months later with updated ideas, maybe show them some mock-ups, a few months later with the first version of the app, and iterate and just grind away at these guys until they saw the vision too. But it also means we know that other companies aren't talking to them, or don't have that foot in the door, because there's a lot of loopholes, a lot of hurdles you have to overcome to actually acquire this IP. And like we've mentioned a few times, we really got to that point where a few licenses started coming on board, some saw the vision, some agreed, then you go back and say, oh, well, now we've got DC, and now we've got Cartoon Network, and then the ears prick up a bit, and they think, okay, maybe we'll take this a little more seriously, right? And now, and more recently, obviously, like now we've got Marvel, and now so we really got to that point of critical mass or critical adoption, or whatever you want to call it, from the licensor side, where they'd actually be working against themselves to not come on board at this point. Because we really are bringing in that global audience. It's what's cemented us as leaders in the space. And since the start of this year, obviously with the NFT hype cycle that happened, it blowing up into people's awareness, like I'd say we'd probably almost signed as many brands in the last 6 months as we have in the last 2 years, and
wow.
Any company that was on the fence before is now much more motivated to get off the fence and come to our side, and a lot of brands that may not have been aware of this industry now are, and understand that growth potential in the digital space. We're truly signing new licenses all the time, and it's it's only up from here. It's only growth from here.
It'll be interesting to see, since it's been like the first kind of experience that people have had of the whole kind of like what Roger and Cohen did, because Marvel's big. It'll be interesting to see if other licensors saw that and they kind of like get introduced into the whole VeVe ecosystem through what Marvel has done. That might like turbocharge everything.
It's very likely, right? And from a business standpoint, like you don't just get Marvel. They like we said before, they do so much due diligence and so much research and into every aspect of the company and the books and all of that. So from a validation standpoint, to see a brand as big as Marvel, or a license as big as Marvel coming on board, it just gives us much more credence to, right? And I would think gives other licensors the permission to look into it and
Yeah.
and much more comfortability in talking about it.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's the opportunities abound for us. It's
Cool.
a nice place to be after that grind, you know, after 3 years of like, are we going to make it? We have to do this, is it here, you know, and all of that. And yeah, for me personally, like it's the craziest thing I've ever been a part of, you know, and likely it's going to be, right? I don't imagine ever being this involved from the ground floor in creating a new industry, let alone a new product. You know, and yeah, even for like Noah, shout out Noah, welcome to the team, coming on, you know, like he's walking into this community and has to navigate the waters of it and figure out who's where and what's going on. And, you know, I imagine that would be quite intimidating if I came in now, right? And not wanting to step on toes. Whereas, yeah, I've had the benefit of being here for a while and getting to know everybody on the way. So.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Cool. So we're gonna just wrap up, but just a kind of like a final takeaway. So moving forwards, when are we going to get the drivable T-Rex?
You know, it's funny, when Trevor was in the AMA a couple of days ago, his tone has changed a little bit when the drivable T-Rex is mentioned. So maybe he's working on a controllable T-Rex or something like that.
I mean, he did say if the community wants something, that's what they focus on.
Yeah. So, you know, that could definitely be in the works.
Cool.
Yeah, now that those, you know, the studios we're working with are AAA or, you know, like the upper echelon of studios and the content that I think everybody's seen the quality really step up a notch in the last few weeks, especially with the new render engine and just the way that you can actually see these collectibles. So that will only continue. You know, we've only got the Ritmo on there as an animated collectible at the moment, but obviously the animated side of these things will continue to step up as well. So yeah, I mean, there's heaps to look forward to in the next 6 months. I think the second half of this year is going to be quite monumental. I'm probably going to go and sleep for 4 hours after this just to get ahead of it. But yeah, I'm super excited for it. I know the rest of the team is as well, and we finally, as a team, you know, the capacity of the team is at a point now where like we have the right devs and in the right places. We can be more responsive to those things. You know, Noah's on board to help with socials. Alex, who you guys will meet soon, has come on board to help liaise with Rogers and Cohen and really nail down our branding and our marketing, that side of things. So, you know, it all ties in with what I was saying with Comic-Con and feeling like we're leading up to actually launching the product. All the pieces are in place now, or, you know, continue to fall into place to take advantage of that. And it's going to be really cool.
I'm excited. Yeah, like I said, I'm just gonna carry on loading up my OMI bags. Join the ride.
Yeah, that's it. And look, like, I mean, we're all OMI token holders, like I said before. Obviously, people want to maximize value as quickly as they can from these investments, but like, if you really understand the scope and the vision of this thing and the way the system works, I mean, the token will only continue to become more scarce over time. You know, so yeah, I'll be holding that bag for quite a while, I think. It's
get yourself a pair of diamond hand gloves from David Yu.
Yeah, I need to try and con my way into a rabbit grin. That's step number one.
That's the one.
Yeah, I think that's and like for me, same deal. Like I knew of Ron English, but I don't have a lot of stuff. I'm not that kind of person, right? Possessions aren't really my thing, but this is the first time I've seen something where I'm like, I want that. You know, I want like, for the nostalgic value, the history value of it. But
the first physical paired with an NFT on VeVe.
Absolutely, you know, and it's from a world-class artist and a beautiful sculpture as well. You know, like it'd just be a really a nice little piece of the story. If I can
Actually,
get my-
on that point, I read a pretty funny FUD comment. It was like, hey, VeVe keeps calling themselves premium, so why have they released NFTs of cereal box characters?
Yeah, some
So
people don't do it.
completely missed the point.
Completely missed the point, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's just people, you know. They
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, they probably didn't even look at the box properly to realize how satirical it is.
Yeah.
You know, but that's that's people are free to express themselves regardless of what that expression is.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
Weird,
Cool. So we'll wrap it up there. But any final words of wisdom, Rhys?
Words of wisdom, probably not. More just, you know, I really just want to extend our gratitude to everybody, to yourself, Kay. You know, like we truly appreciate all the time and energy and effort that you guys put into putting this information out, to educating the community, and you all do it with such a cool, calm, collected head as well, which, you know, is a challenge in and of itself. So no, from myself personally and from all of us, like, just a big thank you to everybody for being involved and for enjoying what we're doing, you know, for being part of the story, because we really do all contribute to this, and it means a lot. It really means a lot.
Thank you so much. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I want to go through with you guys. My words of wisdom are just, you know, keep informed. Articles are out there. Medium, Rhys has always updated everything. You know, Ecomi, only use their official sources. Do not follow stuff that people announce on behalf of Ecomi. Yeah, watch out for the fake VeVe sites. You know, it's all there. It's all pinned. But I just have to reiterate that, you know, due diligence is your friend, and obviously don't type up, you know, stupid sounding essays without actually googling things first. Just gonna double check what you're saying. Yeah, just make sure you do that. Yeah,
that's it. And if you're unsure, like, ask someone. You know, it's okay to ask the question instead of just throwing accusations out from a misunderstanding. Like, it's we are available. You know, so yeah, really appreciate it, Kay. Great way to end. Thanks for the chat, and
no worries.
We'll talk later this week anyway, I'm sure.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, well, have a good day, everyone. Remember, like, subscribe, and yeah, all that good stuff. Catch you, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
So what we'll do is I think actually, you know what? Let's go with that. We'll do the thing when you pop out, and then you like look at me, you're like, oh wait, no. When you pop up, you know the line that Thanos says, dread it. What was it? Let me Google it. The exact line. It's like, dread it, run from it, destiny arrives, all the same, or something like that. Let me just see Thanos line. Dread it, run from it. It is. Yes, dread it, run from it, destiny arrives, all the same. Like, if you say that whilst coming up, and then you just go, I am inevitable, and then snap, and just like pause it for like 2 seconds, because I'm gonna have Shaq like do his thing.
Dread it, run from it, destiny arrives, all the same.
Yeah, so I think if you're off screen when you say dread it, run from it, and say destiny arrives, all the same as you appear, and then just pause for like a second, and then say, I am inevitable. And just pause there for like 2 seconds. Like, that's gonna be perfect.
All right, you got it.
Right, yeah, let's give that a go.
See how we go. See how long it takes to pick me up.
Cool.
Dread it, run from it, destiny arrives, all the same. I am inevitable. Dread it, run from it, destiny arrives, all the same. No, it didn't pick up my head.
All right, so I guess we can start. So,
Sorry, I'm not sure.
My Alexa just went off right when I started. I didn't even say anything to do with Alexa. It was just all right.